What's up guys, Chaos Shinobi here. This is What If Abused Naruto Has Juubi Dojutsu. Summary, this is a story about the child of prophecy. Will he follow the path that is laid down for him? Or will he forge his own path? Does he even care? Chapter 1. People of Konoha stood in front of the Hokage Tower gazing upon their savior. Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato. I have before you the heroes of this village. These two children separately have both yin and yang Kyuubi chakra sealed within them. But do not fear, he said, Kyuubi's soul has been sealed in my son, as he brought up another baby with whisker marks on his cheeks. Kyuubi shall never appear again. You have not just me, but also these three infants. All three of my own children to thank. The blonde man continued, I may be the one who sealed the Kyuubi, but it were my children who stopped the great demon from completely destroying our village. My children shall forever be known as heroes of Konohagakure no Sato. Crowd shouted roars of approval as their leader smiled at villagers. However, as he was exhausted from day, he missed little murmurs in the group of people. 12 years later, young blonde-haired boy with whiskers looked out of window. His eyes shining purple with black concentric rings and dot in the middle. The Rinnegan. Suddenly his eyes changed color from purple to red as 9 tomes sprouted in his eyes, 3 on each concentric circle. His eyes were locked on a group of people. 2 12-year-old girls with red hair were training just outside. These 2 girls are Natsumi and Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. To-chan, Ka-chan, we did it! Yelled Naruto. That's great girls, keep it up and you'll eventually surpass your Ka-chan, said Minato. Your father is right, but that's enough for now or you'll be late for school, said Kushina Uzumaki. With that everyone went inside to get ready. Boy's eyes shifted to blue color as he went to bathroom because he too needed to go to school. Well, I guess it's time to get ready, Nikyu-chan? He spoke to his tenant. How many times do I have to tell you? Don't call me that, yelled Kyuubi. You know I like that nickname, but I'll stop, Kurami-chan. There, better? Said the boy. Much better, Naruto-kun, said now identified Kurami-chan. In the school he sat in his desk at the back of the class. He wore a black t-shirt with kanji seal, black pants and sandals. He also had white cloak with Konoha symbol on the back. Namikaze Naruto, adult voice called out as the boy stood up and walked to the front of the class. Sure it is. He loved sarcasm. Some sent him annoyed glances while others chuckled at his remark. Although he was the son of 4th, he had no respect coming his way. From his age group it was only a couple of annoying fangirls that only liked him because of his father. Everybody loves his sisters because since they had Kyuubi's chakra sealed within them they were known as the saviors of village, while Naruto, being a container of Kyuubi's soul, was ignored and quite often scorned and seen as incarnation of demon. His sisters were best in the academy, known as the Namikaze princesses, while Naruto was the supposed dead last. A student exited the exam room. It was Natsumi. Her eyes held nothing but arrogance as she stared at Naruto. Good luck, Aniki, she said, mock in her voice obvious. Ah, thank you, Imuoto, Naruto replied, dripping with sarcasm. Hope you fail, she said with malice in her voice. Hurry up, Namikaze, we don't want to prolong this more than it needs to. Naruto merely gave a nod. From the corner of his eye he could see Naruto glaring at him with cold eyes. Alright Naruto, you have already done the previous tests such as Henge, Kawarimi, Daijutsu, written exam, etc. Right now you are asked to do 5 perfectly working clones. Judging from your difficulties last year, I hope you trained well, said Iruka. At this Naruto lazily made cross-hand sign and said Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In puff of smoke 5 clones stood there looking at examiners. Of course he could do it without hand sign, but that would raise unnecessary questions. So do I pass? He asked. Yes, you pass with flying colors, answered Iruka as Mizuki stared at with hidden scowl. But I must ask, where did you learn Kage Bunshin? Did your father teach you? Asked Iruka. Naruto cringed at the mention of his father, but answered nonetheless. Nah, I seen him do it once and I just trained until I got it down, he answered. It wasn't a lie. He saw his father trying to teach his sisters Kage Bunshin during one of their morning training sessions. His eyes have powers of Mangekyou Sharingan, Rinnegan and also some unique powers special to his eyes, so he used Sharingan's ability to copy jutsu. Iruka smiled at Naruto. It seems he's going to become great ninja just like his father, he thought. Congratulations Naruto, you are now shinobi of Konohagakure, he said as he handed boy his forehead protector. Naruto smiled as he tied the headband on his forehead and walked out of exam room. He sat at his desk, which was just below his sister's desk. I see you somehow managed to pass, said Natsumi. You have some good eyes, Imuoto, said Naruto as Natsumi scowled at him. Don't get cocky, you're only 3 minutes older, you do. Stop it, Natsumi, said Naruto, but age tried Natsumi before she got interrupted again. He's not worth it, she said. Ah, That kinda hurts. I think I'll go cry to mommy and daddy that my sisters are mean to me, Naruto sobbed in melodramatic manner, while his sisters glared at him. Weakling. I won't acknowledge you as my kin, nonetheless my Oni-chan. Even as the oldest you're not worthy enough to even be considered as heir to clan by our father. Once upon a time that remark would anger Naruto, but he didn't care about things like that anymore, so he just shrugged and decided to have some fun. Hey guys, Natsumi and Naruto just told me they're in love with someone in this class, and it's not that Uchiha douche. The boys shot out from their seat and crowded around the Namikaze girls, while Naruto made his way out of the crowd. It seems I'm going to have a brothers-in-law soon, he said. He could hear curses coming from his sisters. He ignored them as he took empty seat on the other side of the class near the window and just stared outside as if the current situation wasn't going on. He decided to talk to Kurami. I have a feeling that something is going to happen soon, Kurami-chan. Oh, and what do you think? Answered his inner tenant. This conversation continued for quite a while when Kurami decided to have a sigh as he went through the memories of obvious resentment from his sisters and neglect of his parents. Sorry Naruto, but your sisters need training and controlling their powers, otherwise they could get or hurt others in the academy, Minato stated. But I still don't understand, why can't you train me early too at the same time? Answered Naruto. Trust me Naruto, I will train you when you are ready, he said as both him and Kushina went back to training the twins. Today on birthday party I plan on letting the twins sign the Dode contract, he said. Do you think they're ready? Asked Kushina. They definitely have chakra for it, and it would be good for them to have backup just in case they end up in danger, he answered, and Kushina smiled. In fact, Minato continued, I've been thinking of making one of those two heir of clan, he said as Kushina gave puzzled look. But what about Naruto? Minato's look hardened at this. Naruto doesn't show any promise as a leader nor as a shinobi if academy grades are something to go by. I just think one of girls will be better choice. Outside the bedroom door stood young blonde with pained expression. Naruto then smiled fondly as he remembered the day he met Kurami. Blonde boy was in his bed crying himself to sleep. Just because he decided that if his family doesn't want him, he will stop trying to be part of family, doesn't mean he doesn't feel pain. Things like this take time. As he fell asleep he found himself in the sewer. He was wondering what the hell was going on when he heard woman's voice come closer. Child, he didn't know why, but he followed the voice until he stood before a huge cage with kanji seal on it. He figured it was Kyubi who called, but in the cage was but darkness. As he came closer he could see beautiful girl around his age. She had long red hair and red eyes. She also had a pair of fox ears and 9 tails behind her. Kyubi, he said. It was a statement. Correct Kit, I am Kyubi no Kitsune, however you can call me Kurami, she said. Okay. Why am I here? Asked Naruto. Because it's time for you to learn the truth, replied Kurami. The truth? He said confused. Yes, now come closer, and he did. He didn't know why, but his instincts were telling him to trust her, so he just did. When he stood in front of her, Kurami brought up her head, which was glowing white, and touched his forehead. As soon as she touched his forehead, Naruto screamed in pain as his eyes started bleeding. When it was done, Naruto was on the ground panting. What did you do? He asked while breathing heavily. I unlocked your hidden power, Naruto-kun. Also, I gave you some of my memories so that you know what really happened the day I attacked Konoha. Kurami replied. That's when it clicked, as memories started playing before his eyes. Naruto has seen Kurami being ripped out of Kushina, the masked Uchiha, and how she ended inside of him. I see. But who do you mean my hidden power? And why do my eyes hurt? He heard her sigh. Look in the water. I gave you Dojutsu. It has power of both Mangekyou Sharingan and Rinnegan without the drawbacks, plus few other abilities unique to your eyes only. I'm going to train you in your Dojutsu and in using my chakra correctly, not that stupid way your sisters are doing it. They won't be able to master my chakra anyway. You on the other hand will be able to use KCM, Kyubi Chakra mode, and BM, Baijuu mode. You'll also be capable of Baijuu transformation. Redhead explained. Okay, I get the Dojutsu, but how am I going to use your power when it's sealed within my sister's, Kurami-chan? Naruto asked. Kurami chuckled at him and said, actually I replenished all of my chakra few minutes after I got sealed into you. So sisters only hold half of my power each. And even so they won't be able to use more than 4 tails of my chakra, since without soul it's just pure chakra of malice and hate. You on the other hand contain my soul, hence the reason we're talking right now. So what can my eyes do? Asked Naruto, curious. He heard about 3 great Dojutsu, but he didn't know much about their abilities. Hell, only thing he knew about Rinnegan was that it belonged to Rikudo Senin. Well, your Sharingan can copy jutsu, see chakra, see through most genjutsu, cast a genjutsu and predict movements. The Mangekyou gives you Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo. As for your Rinnegan, well, there are quite a few abilities like, For example, ability to see chakra, though it's to higher extent than Sharingan, you can also see nature chakra and barriers. You also gain almost perfect chakra control. Unlike Sharingan, which copies jutsu, Rinnegan can analyze them and make it easier for you to learn and perfect. You can also create specialized black rods as weapon out of nowhere. If you create clones or use those black rods as chakra conductor to control other bodies, you will be able to share sight with them. Then there are the 6 paths. Deva lets you manipulate gravity at your whim. Preta can absorb chakra with just a simple touch. Animal lets you have multiple contracts and gives you ability to summon creatures special to Rinnegan wielder. Human path gives you the ability to read minds and rip out souls. Asura gives you the ability to customize your own body, and Naraka path gives you the ability to summon King of Hell. There is also the 7th path, Outer path. It gives you the ability to control life and death. Use chakra chains similar to your mother's Uzumaki chains, but yours will be able to suck out someone's strength and chakra. You can also summon Geto Mazo and open the pathway to the limbo where you can send your clone. That clone will always be with you and will have same knowledge and powers as you. You will be able to call upon him in battle, so it like there are 2 of you fighting, but only you will be able to see him. As for your shinomi itself, I don't know its full extent, but it magnifies all of your abilities, such as speed, chakra control, power, etc. Also you can use Shinpo, the God step. You can teleport anywhere that's in your line of sight. You can also mark places and teleport to them no matter the distance or if you see them. If you place one of those marks on someone, they will be able to call you to them and communicate with you. You will also be able to distort the space a little. In the end, to others it'll look like their attacks are passing straight through you. Kind of like Kamui, but it works. I said I don't know full abilities of those eyes, but that's all I know, and it's already enough to call you God by most humans. That is if you master those abilities. Wow, that's so cool, I can't wait. Can we start training now? Please. Naruto asked, jumping with excitement. Kurami chuckled at him. We will start tomorrow, you should go to sleep now. I see. Well, thank you, Kurami-chan. Iruka yelled at the group of boys, telling them to sit down, knocking Naruto back to the real world. They all made their way back to their desks with gloom expressions on their faces. The Namikaze girls seemed to be paled and drained of energy, but all the more angry as they gave a glare to Naruto sitting in the far back corner. He glanced at them and back out the window, only barely listening to Erika's words as he began his rant on what it meant to be a shinobi of Konoha. Every student and their parents gathered outside the academy congratulating their children on their graduation and their promotion as Genin of the Leaf. A crimson-haired woman stood outside, standing in the front of the academy with the rest of their parents, until she heard a voice catching her attention. Heika-san. The older woman turned to see a red-haired girl. Naruto. Naruto, Natsumi. How is it? Uzumaki Kushina asked as she added Natsumi into the hug. The 2 girls released the hug from their mother. Natsumi pointed to her Hitaiton around her head and gave an energetic grin. We passed, it was easy. Naruto nodded in aloof agreement with a small smile graced on her lips. Kushina smiled at her daughters. I'm so proud of you too. If only your father could be here to see you, but he had important business to tend to at the Hokage Tower today. I'm sure he'd love to hear about this tonight over dinner. The girls beamed as they loved to see their father's reaction to their promotion to Genin. Kushina smiled brightly, but it dropped when she noticed something out of place. Have you girls seen Naruto? Did he do well? Natsumi shrugged. I saw him walk that way towards town, probably going to that cheap Ichiraku place. He passed, but I think just barely, knowing him. But enough about him. Can you show us some more moves we can do with our demon chakra? Kushina was a bit upset with the fact that Naruto wasn't there to meet with them. Lately the boy has been growing distant with the family, but she was sure that he'd be back for dinner at the least. Naruko saw the look of worry that was on her mother's face when Natsumi mentioned Naruto. The girl scowled. Naruko never thought of Naruto as a bother. He was annoying and sarcastic at the least. A weak guy like him being of relation to her was an insult in her opinion, and that was the main reason she disliked her brother. She was actually okay with the fact that he rarely showed when the family would eat breakfast every morning, or when their parents would train her and her sister or go on walks around the village. He was a nuisance, and a guy like him making her mother upset made her upset as well. That weakling upsetting Kasama. Why did he have to become a ninja? He'll disgrace our name. Kushina smiled at the girls and nodded. I'm sure I can show you girls a thing or two with your yokai chakra to better your control over it. But first let's head somewhere to have a bite to eat. Okay. Kushina and Natsumi began walking off into the green light district of the village, but stopped to look back at the remaining Naruto, who stood still looking off into the distance as the other families began ushering their children away from the academy. Naru-chan? Are you coming? Natsumi looked at her sister. I think I'll go look for Naruto, she said with cold voice before journeying in the opposite direction. Kushina and Natsumi just stared in confusion. Well, be sure to fetch him back home before 6. I don't want you kids missing dinner. Okay, Ka-chan, Naruto stated in the distance as she leaped onto a nearby building and began hopping from rooftop to rooftop. Kushina and Natsumi turned and began walking in the other direction only to be stopped by a group of villagers asking for their autographs. Naruto just left a certain place as he was watching the leaves fall as he breathed in heavily. This training ground was the only spot that he could train by himself without interruption since no one dared to enter it. Training Ground 44. No one besides Anko Mitarashi. He first met Anko when he ran in the forest because of one of the fox hunts, and having similar lives they quickly became friends. Besides Kurami, Ayame, Yugao and Anko, no one knew his true abilities. Naruto had a natural affinity for wind, but when Kurami activated his Dojutsu he gained fire, water, earth, lightning, gravity, yin and yang. He could actually combine elements to create sub-elements. Kurami informed him it's probably because of his eyes. Shin no Mi. On the outskirts of the Forest of the Death, Naruto's gaze fell to the sky and the passing clouds. You can come out now, Naruto. A moment of silence can be heard before a figure jumped into the clearing and began to proceed forward. She stopped 10 feet away from the blonde boy and just stood staring at him with cold eyes. What do you need, Muoto? Naruto stated with a bored voice as he placed his hands in his pockets. Why must I be of kin to someone like you? You came all the way here to ask that? It's dangerous here. What would mother and father say if they knew you were here? Don't worry, I won't tell them. As for your question, I don't know, same parents maybe? That might be it right there, I think. I don't know, what do you think? Naruto said sarcastically. Today was just lovely. Naruto formed a fighting stance that he recognized quite quickly to be the kata for the taijutsu that his father used. His face darkened at this. Huh? So that's how you gonna be, Naru-chan? I truly don't want to hurt you. Don't worry, because Adobe like you can't touch me. With that she charged her brother with swift movements. Her first strike was aimed to Naruto's face, which he easily dodged in a lazy droopy manner. Naruto sent a swift kick below to Naruto's legs, which he then hopped over in a somersault-like manner. The red-haired girl took this time to send a strong right kick to the boy suspended in air. The kick connected with Naruto's side, but before Naruto could be sure to claim her short victory, Naruto exploded into smoke. Shadow clones, she thought. Naruto appeared behind her with a kunai to the girl's throat and a dull voice in her ear. Hi! Naruto growled as she elbowed the boy in the stomach. Naruto charged the boy with more strikes. Naruto channeled chakra into his light leg and kicked her. Naruto was sent flying, hitting the tree. Bastard. Oh, adorable, you're upset because you're losing. She formed a series of hand seals. Tsurugi Ogoshi no Jutsu, hair blade technique. Naruto shouted as her hair sprouted a life of its own and began spinning uncontrollably, destroying any trees in her vicinity. Naruto kept dodging until her hair dropped back to her shoulders and she began looking for the blonde boy, who was nowhere to be found. She paused when she heard a chilling voice. Hey there! She turned slightly to see a kneeling Naruto behind her with his hands clasped together as if ready to perform a Katen jutsu. He stared at her with dull cold eyes, and in the moment she was sure that he was going to kill her. You need a lesson in respecting your brother, you'll learn it now though. The boy stated as maniacal grin reached his face. Naruto's eyes widened in horror. Konoha taijutsu ugi, Senin Goroshi. With that, Naruto's hands shot far up a place where the sun doesn't shine. The red-haired girl's face went from horror to confusion to an awkward twist of pain to seething anger as she was pushed into the air, landing in the trees. Naruto stood to his feet and chuckled to himself, placing his hands into his pockets. As if anticipating what to happen next, the boy watched as an unstoppable force came rushing from the forest. The very trees began falling down at the sheer power this force displayed before it reached the clearing, to be revealed as very angry Naruto, whose face was both red from embarrassment and anger. You. She seethed as she rushed Naruto. She tightened a fist to be aimed at her brother's face. From out of seemingly nowhere a figure appeared blocking the fist. Naruto and Naruto were both shocked to find a tall blonde man who shared similar facial appearances as Naruto. He smirked as he brought the young girl's fist down to her sides. I think that's enough. The two young preteens both stopped their violent spout to focus their attention on the tall blonde man. He wore a long white trench coat that had designer red flames on the hems, and written on the back of said trench coat were kanji for Yondaime Hokage. Under his trench coat was a standard Konoha Jonin vest and navy blue shinboy shirt, pants, and sandals. He had an all-knowing small plastered-on she-face with his eyes gently closed. Naruto seethed at her brother Naruto before looking out to the taller blonde with a worried face. But Tosama, he started it. The young Hokage looked between the two youngsters. Is that so? Well, He turned his attention to Naruto, who held an overall cold and indifferent expression to the current situation. "I'm sure he is sorry, isn't that right, Naruto?" The blonde boy in questioning said nothing as he looked up to his father with his dull sapphire eyes. "I have nothing to apologize for, she was the one that wanted to fight, I was just training alone," Naruto stated, pointing with his eyes to his crimson-haired sibling who stared him down coldly with no remorse. The blonde Hokage looked between his two children with a sheepish expression as he could fully see their little stare-off taking place, bringing them into a tight hug. Much to their surprise and relative reactions, he chuckled lightly. "Come now my children, no need to fight." "Yeah, no need to fight Naruto, you bully." "Shut it you Dobi, calm down you two." "Yeah, calm down Naruto." "I am calm, being near a doofus like you." "Shut up you two." The two kids paused at the outburst by their father, as who seemed to be rather agitated with their behaviors. "Now I will have no more of this when we get back home to the estate. I heard from your mother that you two along with your sister have passed your exams and become shinobi in the ranks." The two stared at the man, Naruto out of somewhat fear of her father and Naruto with dull disinterest. "Now how am I supposed to allow shinobi who childishly bicker with one another over menial things to even protect what actually matters, the village?" The two stayed silent. "Naruto, I want you to stop antagonizing your brother, and Naruto." The blonde man turned to his only son, who stared back coldly. "I want you to act more mature. You are the eldest, act like it. I can only assume by how you usually do in the academy that you only passed by the skin of your teeth, which leaves no room for you to behave childishly." Naruto stared at the man. If he would have been paying more attention, he would have known that boy had gradually improved through hard work over the years since the first year of the academy, without his help. The blonde boy was as calm as ever while his father seemingly chewed him out. He didn't even listen to what he has to say. "Hokage-sama." The three were interrupted by the entrance of a group of 3 Anbu entering the clearing of the training grounds. "We have urgent news. Your wife Namikaze Kushina and daughter Namikaze Natsumi have been attacked, and the absence of Namikaze Natsumi has shown that she has been kidnapped and taken from the scene of the crime." Naruto and Minato Namikaze held a shocked expression at the new news, while Naruto sat silent listening to the rest of the details. "What? Kushina-sama has been stated to be safe but with slight injury, which we have her tended to at the nearby hospital. We have found no current trace of said person who has captured Natsumi-sama, but we are sure that they are of a shinobi in our ranks. We have already issued an underground Anbu search to find her, but we have been out of luck with no clues for the moment," stated the Anbu black hop with the mask of a cat. This was Yuga Uzuki, one of Naruto's few precious people. "Say no more." The older Namikaze rose to his feet. "Come, we must inform the ranks and issue an all-out search. We will find her. Am I clear?" "Yes sir." Naruto waved at her and she waved back. The blonde man looked down behind him to Naruto and Naruto. Naruto holding an upset expression while Naruto looked indifferent. "I want you two to head home immediately. I can't risk the both of you getting captured also. That is not only an order as your father but an order as your Hokage, understand?" Naruto and Naruto nodded, although the red-haired girl's was a more shaken gesture. In an instant both the group and Anbu and the Yondaime disappeared in a swirl of leaves. "I shouldn't have left them," Naruto muttered to herself as she stood shaken in the clearing. Naruto began walking off the grounds. Naruto spotted this and immediately scowled. "Where are you going?" Naruto didn't even look over his shoulder. "Home." "Aren't you even worried about Natsumi? She could be hurt or worse." "You're just terrible. You're just going to Wakawa." "I'm not really family, so it doesn't really matter, right? You said it yourself." Naruto paused a good few feet away from her. The wind blowing between the two with the leaves scattering from their places on the branches of the trees. A welcome and embarrassment to both the Namikaze and Uzumaki name couldn't possibly be able to fix a situation like this, so it's pointless, right? Right? Naruto's scowl darkened as she stared at the back of the blonde boy. Right. Wrong. She rose a red eyebrow at this as she watched Naruto snatch a flowing leaf from the air and turn towards a seemingly random tree as she heard him mutter something, and then, as if the leaf had completely transformed into a kunai of sorts, suddenly flew out of his hand and pierced a tree. Her blonde brother chuckled at her as he walked towards the tree, noticing the leaf had impaled a small paper of the sort. "It keeps people guessing I supposed to be an embarrassment that comes out on top, an underdog. You should be able to notice sarcasm when you see it, Naruto Imuoto." The boy removed the razor-sharp leaf and in turn picked up the note in its wake. The red-haired girl stared at the back of her brother intently before her glare softened. Naruto walked up to him to observe said note. "What is this?" she stated in mild interest. "I'm sure there was someone here, but they seem to have left a ransom note here, and it's about Natsumi." "Read it then. Quick." Naruto winced at the volume of the girl's voice. "Geez, you're louder than what most people would assume you were?" He placed a paper closer to his face as Naruto read from over his shoulder. "Hi there Namikaze brats, If you have not already known, I am the one who is your demon sister. If you want her to live, steal the Forbidden Scroll from the Hokage's office tonight and bring it to the training ground number 11 near the Forbidden Forest. You have 1 hour after the sun sets. Inform anybody about this note and I will cut her up real nice and pretty and send her to you piece by piece. Naruto's eyes narrowed at the wording of the note while he could feel the killer intent radiating from his sister Naruto. I'm going to kill him. Well, can't do that exactly until we get the Forbidden Scroll, right? Naruto looked at him in disbelief. Are you joking again? We have to tell someone, or are you stupid? He already stated what will happen if we tell anyone. We're going to have to do this on our own. Now come on, we have no time, Naruto stated aloud as he made a break from the training grounds to the Hokage Tower. Naruto followed suit. What if there is someone in there? We could get in big trouble. Odds are, everyone is too busy looking for Natsumi to care. Now are you gonna help me or go home? Naruto just continued to follow Naruto, which he took as a selection of the later option. Well, that was pretty damn easy, Naruto stated, carrying a large scroll strapped to his back with his crimson-haired sister following suit as they began walking through the Hokage's library to the exiting door. I didn't know Sandaime-sama was a pervert, to be tricked by such a jutsu, Naruto stated as she paused to glance back at the old man who was now passed out in a puddle of his own nose blood and wrapped in some ninja rope and gagged. Naruto smirked as he turned to his sister. Oiroku no Jutsu is a pretty powerful jutsu. I made it after a. Will you shut it? We have a schedule to follow here. Let's hurry in. Intruders. Get to Natsumi with a scroll, Naruto stated, dejected as she and Naruto noticed the newfound presence of Konoha shinobi in the Hokage's archives. The ninja began tossing dozens of shuriken toward the siblings. Naruto stood in front of Naruto, extended his hand and muttered Shinra Tensei. All of the shurikens stopped in the air and fell to the ground. Naruto watched, shocked at what her brother did. Dudobi. We don't have time to play around, I'll deal with them quickly, Naruto said, not facing Naruto, but Naruto started but was interrupted by Naruto. Sorry for this. Limbo, as every one of Konoha shinobi, one after another, was sent flying, hitting the wall, thus ending up knocked out. It's dark in here, there's no way they've seen my eyes, he thought. Naruto was rendered speechless from what she seen. Was this really the Dobi she knew? And what the hell was that technique? Let's go, we don't have time, Naruto said. Naruto just dumbly nodded and followed him. Iruka arrived at the tower to see all of the lights were still turned off and the rooms completely empty. There were no Chunin or even Anbu stationed anywhere in the building. As he made his way to the Hokage's room, his confusion grew. There were a team of Chunin-level ninja lying on the ground outside the Hokage's room unconscious. Who could have done such a thing? He turned around a corner in the hallway and spotted the door open to the Hokage's room. And on the floor, bound, was an elderly man in a robe. It was none other than Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime and previous Hokage. Iruka hurried forward and dropped onto the ground beside the Hokage. He saw that he was bound and gagged. After some time he finally managed to free the old man. He looked around the room to see it wrecked to a mild degree with papers lying about. What happened here? Don't ask, snapped the third. Listen, Naruto. I know, he and Naruto stole the Forbidden Scroll. Mizuki told me part of the militia were being organized to track them down. I don't understand why they didn't inform Yondaime-sama, but then again they are in search of. Hiruzen interrupted. Mizuki told you that? Yes. Why, what's wrong? Don't worry about it. I heard from Naruto and Naruto's conversation that they were taking the scroll towards the training area near the entrance of the Forest of Death. Head there and intercept them quickly. This may have something to do with the kidnapping of Minato-kun's youngest daughter Natsumi. Yes, Sandaime-sama. With that, Iruka quickly left the room, carefully navigating through the bodies of unconscious ninja. Let me go. Do you know who my daddy is? I'm sure he's on his way right now with an army of ninja to Risk. Will you shut up, you little bitch? You've been yapping your gums this whole damn time. If your dumbass siblings weren't bringing that lovely scroll for me, then I would have killed you slowly and painfully long before. Mizuki had the girl in rope bind and seals as he held her over his shoulder by waist. The girl was struggling the entire time. Mizuki laughed. Good thing I placed those restriction seals I received from Orochimaru-sama on, or you would have been more trouble than you're worth. It's kind of funny how you're practically useless without that chakra, hey. The girl was on the verge of tears as she began to lose hope for help. As if on cue, a series of kunai came flying towards the silver-haired Chunin. He quickly dodged the barrage and positioned himself on another tree branch with the young Namikaze girl still over his shoulder, kicking in confusion. Naruto and Naruto appeared on an opposite branch, ready to engage their old Chunin instructor. Mizuki-sensei, you? Yep, it's me. I'm the kidnapper, but enough about that. He paused as he gave a mock glance. I see that you have the scroll with you. Naruto chuckled. Yes, I have the scroll, but you're not getting it. he said. Both girls looked at Naruto with wide eyes. "What the hell are you talking about? We have to save Natsumi," yelled Naruto. "She's right, demon, give me the scroll otherwise she dies," Mizuki said, gesturing to Natsumi. "Oh, she will?" Naruto asked. Mizuki glared at Naruto for a little while. Then Naruto sighed. "Well, this is getting boring, so yeah," Naruto said as he brought his right hand up and said Banchou Tenin. Effect was instantaneous as Natsumi flew out of Mizuki's hold straight to Naruto, who grabbed her. Everyone except Naruto was shocked. "What the fuck did you do, demon?" yelled Mizuki. Naruto chuckled. "You're not very intelligent, are you, Mizuki-sensei? I saved her, of course." Naruto saw Mizuki shift his stance, getting ready to fight, and he smiled as Shinomi activated, 9 tomes spinning lazily. "So you wish to dance?" Naruto asked. "But I am in no mood for dancing, so at least let me make the first steps," Naruto said as he once again extended his hand towards Mizuki. "Go fly." Shinra Tensei, Naruto said as Mizuki along with whole tree was sent flying. Natsumi and Naruto were wide-eyed from what they've seen. Was this really the Naruto? Naruto turned around and looked at his sisters. "So? Is she okay?" Naruto smiled at him as she answered, "Well, she seems so." Natsumi frowned at Naruto. "Naru-chan, thanks for saving me, but what's WDOI? Look out!" yelled Naruto as she shoved Natsumi to the side. She knew that there was no way she would be fast enough to dodge, so she closed her eyes and waited for pain. However, it never came. After a while she opened her eyes and what she saw was Naruto on his knees coughing blood because of giant shrunken in his back. "Damn, I let my guard down," said Naruto between coughs. He looked to the side to see if Natsumi was alright. And she was. She, just like her sister, was staring wide-eyed at Naruto. He let out a chuckle. "Damn, Imwota, look what you did to your sister, you almost knocked her out. I thought you two were close. Anyway, now to take care of traitor," he said as he ripped the giant shuriken out of his back and coughed more blood. Mizuki laughed at young blonde. "You? Take care of me? You're barely even alive. What can you do?" he asked with amusement clear in his voice. Naruto just stood there, still shocked, not knowing what to do. Natsumi moved next to Naruto, but just like her sister she was silent. Suddenly Naruto was covered in golden shroud of chakra, on his neck 6 Magatama appeared, in front his bangs taking appearance of 2 horns, his clock swishing furiously as 9 giant chakra tails appeared behind him. Also 2 black sticks appeared in his hands at the same time as 9 black balls appeared behind him. Finally on his forehead formed a Rinnegan-like mark. "With Kurami's chakra I'll be fine, but if I want to fight I have to reveal my 6 paths Sage Mode too, just to accelerate the healing process. Damn it, I can't believe idiot like Mizuki managed to reveal to so much." Naruto thought as he stood up, still facing his sisters, which meant his back was still turned towards Mizuki. Now, Naruto knew that was kind of risky, but he hoped Kurami-chan's power would intimidate him enough to freeze at least for a moment. He wanted Mizuki to see with his own 2 eyes, he wanted him to witness how quickly his injury healed so his morale would drop even more. Mizuki's eyes widened as the injury was healed in the matter of few seconds as Naruto turned around, his Shinomi activated. "This is the Senjutsu of the 6 paths. The sticks and Gadudama behind me are proof of how powerful it is, as it is Sishal manifestation of its power. However, that's not all. The chakra shroud and tails are not my power, nor it is power of the 6 paths." Naruto broke eye contact with Mizuki and looked at his sisters over his shoulder, who were staring at him wide-eyed. "Watch closely. This is how you use Kyuubi's chakra." Naruto took a step forward and looked at Mizuki. "I admit, I underestimated you the first time, however I won't make same mistake twice. That being said, you don't stand a chance either way. Right now I only posse's little bit of old man 6 paths power, however even that little bit of his power is more than enough to deal with you," he said as he crossed the 2 sticks together and one of the Gadudama flew towards Mizuki at high speed. Mizuki didn't even have time to blink as the weird black sphere hit him hard in the chest and sent him flying screaming in pain. The Gadudama returned to Naruto's side as he chuckled and said, "Whoops, sorry, I forgot, I promised to show you how to use Kyuubi's chakra. I hope he'll stand up again." And he did. And he was pissed. Mizuki stared at Naruto with hate in his eyes as blood dripped down his chin. "You fucking demon, I'll kill you with the power Orochimaru-sama gave me." As he activated his curse mark, slowly gaining a beastly look. The girls looked at the scene in awe. Was their brother always this powerful? This chakra was so huge, but it didn't feel evil at all. Was it truly Kyuubi's chakra? They were snapped out of their musing by a demonic-sounding roar coming from Mizuki. "I'll kill you demons," he yelled as Naruto shivered in fear by the predatory look on his face. And Naruto vsh before she could finish she was interrupted by chuckling Naruto. "Don't worry Muoto, he's drawing in natural energy although it is kind of more evil." That beastly transformation is merely a bastardized version of Sage Mode. Now watch how to use Baiju's chakra. As he said that 2 chakra hands came out of his shroud. At the same time the black sticks in his hand dissipated and reformed a 10th Gadudama in the middle of previous 9 as he brought his 4 hands before him and little dark bluish orbs started forming in his hand. Cho mini Baijodama, he yelled as he ran at Mizuki and smashed the Baijodama in his gut. From Mizuki's point of view he just appeared in front of Mizuki in yellow flash. Both girls had it same. Mizuki didn't even yell in pain as he was sent flying and then the Baijodama exploded in massive fiery dome. Damn it. I went overboard again. Anko-chan told me not to use that move unless necessary, said Naruto as he stood in front of dead Mizuki. He went to Naruto and looked at her. You okay? He asked as his chakra shroud dissipated and 2 black sticks reappeared in his hands. And the girls were once again shocked. Wow. Is that how to really use the chakra? But it's so much different than what Kasan teaches us with Kyuubi's chakra. Come to think of it, how? We have the power sealed within us, how can he wield it? Perhaps Kyuubi regained K? They were cut off from their similar thoughts as their brother showed in front of them and asked something. What? Naruto asked as she watched Naruto's chakra shroud disappear and black sticks reform in his hands. I asked if you were okay, he asked as he brought the sticks together and they formed a shakujo. On one end it had an incomplete circle that kind of resembled a crescent moon, while on the other end there was a circle with 5 smaller circles wrapped around it. Naruto watched in fascination as he leaned on it before she answered. Yeah, we are fine, thanks. And thanks for saving me too, she said as she looked at the 9 Gadudama behind him. What are those weird black things? She asked curious. Naruto chuckled at her. I already screwed up and they've seen them so it doesn't matter. He thought before answering they are called Gadudama and I can control both them in this shakujo in very similar way. As I said before to Mizuki team, both shakujo and the Gadudama are manifestations of the sage mode of the 6 paths. He answered before he continued, but I bet you are more interested in the fact that I can use Kyuubi's chakra, right? Naruto nodded at her brother. Then let's go to my mindscape, he said. He touched both of his sisters' foreheads and suddenly they were in front of a waterfall. Girls looked around to see beautiful woods and animals running around. They also saw a house. Let's go meet Kyuubi, he said as he went towards the house. Girls simply followed as they entered a house. A beautiful girl around their age with cute fox ears on top of her head and 9 tails came out of kitchen to greet them. Naruto, seeing the 9 tails, immediately connected the dots as she yelled Kyuubi, as she was getting ready to fight. Kyuubi looked amused as she continued to walk towards them. Natsumi now in fighting stance, ready to fight as well. Ignoring their antics he walked towards Kurami. Hello Kurami-chan, he said as he gave her a kiss which she returned. Why hello Naruto-kun. Why are the brats here? Naruto turned towards his sisters and said, this is Kurami-chan, or as you know her, the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Now then, we have lots to talk about so let's not waste time, Naruto said as he and Kyuubi proceeded to explain everything to girls. Kyuubi not only explained how she trained Naruto and his abilities, but she also told them about his life, much to Naruto's annoyance, but with one swift glare Naruto stayed silent and let her tell what she wanted. Wow. That's a lot to take in, said Naruto after everything was out. I'm sorry Naruto, she said. Aw, look, my adorable little sister actually called me by my name. We're becoming so close, said amused Naruto as Kurami giggled little. Shut up, idiot, yelled angrily Naruto as Naruto and Kurami both erupted in laughter. Soon both girls started laughing too. Oh, and by the way, said Kurami seriously, don't try to control my chakra unless you get rid of your inner hatred, otherwise you won't be able to use my chakra properly. That and the way you're doing it now is shortening your lifespan. Also, you won't be able to control more than 4 tails even if you get rid of your hatred. She explained while girls looked at her. What do you mean inner hatred? You'll have to find out yourself just like Ruto-kun did. Girls groaned but thanked for a piece of advice nevertheless. Don't thank me. If it was up to me I would let both you get consumed by rage for what you did to Naruto, but he made it clear he doesn't want any harm to come to you too, so thank him. Oh, it seems Iruka found us. He's close and out there. My sage mode is still active and I don't want him to see it. We have to go. I'll see you later Kurami-chan. He gave a peck on lips before both him and girls disappeared from his mindscape. Well, today was certainly fun, he said as Rinnegan-like mark on his forehead disappeared along with the Gadudama and the Shakujo. Few seconds later Iruka dropped to the clearing. There you are, what the hell happened here? Chapter 2. The next day, Naruto had woken up to Kurami yelling at him to wake up, causing him to jump out of bed and face plant on the floor. What the fuck, Kurami-chan? He asked his tenant. Don't what the fuck me just cause you can't continue your hibernation, you're gonna be late to school. Get up and get ready, she said. Hibernation? I'm not a bear, you know, he replied before he suddenly became annoyed as Kurami's word hit him. Wait, did you say late to school? I'm late 90% of school, I don't see the big deal. I'm going back to sleep. It was true, most of the time Naruto was late. Previous day he was on time only because he was already awake and would be bored at home, so he decided to go to the academy sooner than normally. Well, for him anyway. Get up, dumbass, it's last day of the academy, today are the team placements. If you'll be late they may kick you out of team or replace you with someone else. Naruto, who was already lying in bed again with his eyes closed, groaned out of frustration. She's got a point. Damn, it looks like I've got no choice, he thought as he got up and went to the bathroom to do the morning ritual. Iruka-sensei will chew me out again if I'm late, won't he? He asked, getting a response from Redhead. I like him, but seriously, it is just stupid academy, no need to take it that seriously. When he came out he was in his black attire wearing same white cloak with symbol of Konoha on the back. He looked at the clock. Naruto-kun, you're late already. He was late indeed. He activated his Shinomi and teleported to the marker he had near the academy. The academy. Okay students. Today you are officially Jonin. Because this is the lowest level, you will be assigned to a 3-man team under a Jonin sensei. Now remember to work as a team, said Iruka as he started to read out the teams from 1 to 6. Team 7 consists of Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze. With that, most of the boys were thinking me, please let it be me. But alas, it wasn't meant to be in Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and just like that everyone deflated under Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Sensei. Why does Naruto have to be on their team? He is just going to get in the way. I would be a lot better choice. whined Kiba, hoping to get on the team with the Namikaze girls. So, I'd be in the way? A voice said, causing everyone to look up, towards the voice. Many girls started drooling, including Ino. Naruto may have been a dead last, but a hot one. Well, that's what she thought. Naruto dropped down on the floor, landing on his feet and going to his usual seat. On his way he noted two strange things. First, everyone was staring at him. He was usually ignored, so this was new to him. He didn't care though, so he dismissed it. Second, when he looked at his sisters, they didn't aim a cold glare his way. "When did you get here, idiot?" demanded Sakura. "How did you do that?" asked Sasuke, getting everyone's but Naruto's attention. Naruto was knocked out of his musing by someone's voice. He stopped and turned around to see both Sakura and Sasuke looking at him, expression on their faces clearly read, "I'm awaiting an answer." Loser and Naruto being prankster and easygoing person, he was decided that it was time to lighten up the mood a little bit. "You said something?" he asked, getting a few chuckles and scowls from Sakura and Sasuke. He turned around and went to his seat. When he sat down he heard Naruto's voice. "You're late again, Dobi," she said. Naruto turned around with chuckle escaping his mouth as he looked at her. "Were you worried about me? We really are becoming close, aren't we?" he asked, amusement clear in his voice. What? "No, I was just saying that you almost lost your chance to become ninja like the Dobi, or," she said angrily. Naruto was about to retort when the door flew open and revealed Kushina. "Team 7 meet me on the roof in 5 minutes," she said cheerfully as she then disappeared in the swirl of leaves. "What the hell?" was one common thought in whole classroom. Naruto didn't waste time as he really didn't care about other teams. He just got permission to leave, so he left in the swirl of fire. Natsumi and Naruto glanced at each other before they both shrugged and ran out of classroom. "Since when can the Dobi do that?" Sasuke broke the silence, fuming with anger. "He got bested by nobody. He. Uchiha Elite." Nobody answered as they were wondering the same thing. "Well, anyway," said Iruka, "let's continue with team placements." The academy roof. "Okay. You'll all introduce yourselves. Likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams." "I'll go first," said Kushina as she looked at her children. "I like my family, I dislike bad people, my hobbies are spending time with my family, and my dreams have already been fulfilled when I got married and have children," she said. "She dislikes bad people? What is she, 5? thought Naruto. Kushina pointed at Natsumi and said, "You're next." "My name is Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze, I like my family, I dislike those who threaten my family, my hobbies are training and my dream is to become Hokage one day," she said. Kushina nodded at her daughter as she pointed at her second daughter. "Your turn," she said. "My name is Naruko, I like Dango and my family, I dislike perverts, my hobby is training, my dream is to surpass you," she said as she pointed at her mother. Kushina looked at her for a little while and then she smiled at her. "Naruto-kun, my name's Naruto, I like ramen and my precious people, I dislike rapists and judgmental idiots, my hobby is pranking, and my dream is to succeed the Rikudo Sennin," said Naruto. You do know he was probably just a myth, right?" Asked Kushina. Never thought I'd hear that coming from a Uzumaki. After all, we are his descendants. Oh well, believe what you will. He told him that Rikuto was basically her father and that she was created by him. He knew he was no myth. I still don't see what's the point of introduction. We already know each other, Naruto said. What's the point of coming here? The real test, answered Kushina. Follow me, she said as she turned around, but she heard a voice. What do you mean the real test? We already passed the exam, right? Said Natsumi. That was just to weed out those that don't have potential as shinobi. The real test starts now, answered Kushina before she leapt from the rooftop and went to the empty training ground. Triplets following her. When they arrived to training ground 7, they dropped in the clearing. Kushina brought out 2 bells and strapped them to her waist. You've got 3 hours to get the bells. The one that doesn't get bell fails and will be sent back to the academy. Simple, right? She said. Naruto could sense a lie in what she said. Kurami's negative emotion sense caught it. He started thinking over it and soon he figured it out. So only 2 of us can pass? Asked Naruto. Kushina didn't answer. She just looked at her daughter before she said, okay, let's begin. Start. She said as Naruto and Natsumi leapt to the woods hiding. Kushina looked at Naruto, who just stood there. Shouldn't you hide too? She asked. Much to her surprise, Naruto shook his head and said, I've already figured it out. We either fail together or we pass together. This is about teamwork, said Naruto, shocking Kushina at how quickly he figured it out. I would tell them, but that would be kind of cheating since they are supposed to figure it out themselves. Until they figure it out, I'm just going to dance with you, he said before he shifted to his fighting stance. Kushina saw this and too got ready to fight. You think you can take me alone? She asked with small grin on her face. She wanted to see what he was capable of. Naruto didn't answer, instead he just ran towards his mother with mid-jounin speed. Kushina was surprised how fast he moved, but she managed to dodge Naruto's strikes with relative ease. Naruto wasn't really fighting seriously, but he got so absorbed into trying to hit Kushina and dodging her strikes he didn't even notice they were gaining speed. By now both of them were using cage-level speed when both of them threw punch at each other's face but caught it with other arm. They both jumped back and looked at each other. He was supposed to be the dead last and yet I actually have to fight him seriously. When did he acquire such skills? How did I miss it? Kushina was torn between being happy for her son or being sad she didn't even know he was this good. At the same time Naruto was just standing there waiting for his mother to make move, but she was taking too long and he was getting bored, so he decided to act. Well, since you aren't taking any steps. Suten, Suryudan no Jutsu, he said as a giant water dragon formed behind him from the water particles in air and went straight for Kushina. If Kushina wasn't shocked before, she definitely was now. Such strong water affinity, to do high-rank water jutsu with just one hand sign and without any water. She thought as she threw couple shurikens at Naruto, who simply dodged them. Suddenly chains erupted from his mother's back and went for him. Those are going to be pain to deal with, he thought as he dodged first few chains, but he knew eventually he would be caught, so he decided to do something else. As next chain went for him, he made one-handed hand sign as he ducked and placed other hand on the ground. Doten, Toryuaki, he said as wall suddenly rose from ground in front of him. The chain flew straight into it but didn't went through. Naruto jumped on top of wall and threw couple of his own shurikens at his mother. Shuriken Cage Bunshine, he said as suddenly instead of 2 there were 50 shurikens flying at Kushina, who was forced to jump away. She made couple of hand signs before calling out her jutsu. Suten, Suryudan no Jutsu, said Kushina as she landed beside a small pond. Water in the pond immediately took appearance of dragon and went for Naruto. Kushina grinned when the water dragon hit Naruto. Her grin disappeared when Naruto on top of wall puffed out of existence. When did he? The wall. She thought as she looked for Naruto. She turned around when she felt something was wrong and all she saw was Naruto's foot before she got hit. Naruto grinned when he kicked her in the face. I really don't hate her, but that was fucking satisfying. That all you got? Naruto taunted. In the trees near the fight were Natsumi and Naruto looking at fight. They've already seen what Naruto is capable of, but it was still amazing to see he was able to fight toe-to-toe with their mother, someone both girls wanted to surpass. They couldn't understand why Naruto would want to keep his abilities secret, but since he pretty much saved their lives they agreed to keep it a secret. I still can't believe they actually thought that story was true. Both girls thought when they remembered what Naruto said that night when asked about Mizuki. Naruto said that Mizuki used bunch of exploding tags and blew himself up on accident, or at least what he thought was a accident. They looked on as Kushina spit blood from her mouth. When she looked up at Naruto she had huge grin on her face. She was using less than 40% of her actual power, but it was still amazing that her son was able to keep up. That would put him on low jounin level. Kushina being cage-level Kunoichi, the only ones from Konoha that could defeat her were Minato, Hiruzen and the Sannin. "I'm just starting, Naruto-kun," she said as her huge grin somehow got even bigger and Naruto could swear he could see small stars in her eyes. "This is getting exciting. This is our chance," both girls thought as they looked at each other and nodded. Naruto threw few kunais towards Kushina, who jumped back. "Hey, I actually forgot about those two for a second. Good thing I didn't let my guard down," she thought as she dodged kick from Natsumi. She was about to counter-attack, but another set of kunais flying towards her forced her to retreat. She looked for Naruto but she couldn't find him, though she knew he was watching. She looked at Natsumi and Naruto, who now stood beside her sister. It seems the girls have figured it out. Both Naruto and Kushina thought. "But I still want to finish our dance/fight." Not knowing they were thinking the same thing, red chakra started to cover both girls, then one after one 3 tails sprouted from their chakra cloak. Kushina, seeing this, shifted into fighting stance. "Show me what you got," she said. Naruto launched forward intending to punch her mother, but Kushina sidestepped and kicked her, sending her flying into the woods. She then moved to the side, barely evading Natsumi's punch. Kushina grabbed her daughter's arm as she kneed her in the stomach. Kushina jumped as she went through hand signs. Demonic art, hell viewing technique. Natsumi fell on the ground and Kushina disappeared into the forest looking for Naruto. Natsumi woke up to the sight of her siblings both on the ground, their bodies unmoving. Naruto's eyes opened and looked at Natsumi. "Run, Natsumi-chan," she said. Natsumi was freaked out, trying to figure out what happened. She was trying to become Genin and she passed out while fighting her mother. Then she sensed some kind of disturbance in chakra and that's when it clicked. "Genjutsu," she thought before doing hand sign Kai, she said as everything went blurry. Then she found herself at the same place she fought her mother. "Where is everyone?" she thought as she was jumping the forest looking for someone. "I have to find Natsumi, otherwise I'm screwed," thought Naruto as she was jumping from tree to tree. She looked ahead and she saw Natsumi coming towards her. "Naru-chan, are you okay?" she asked when she saw her sister. "Yeah, I'm fine, but I don't know where Ka-chan is." As if on cue, few chains appeared. "I'm right here," said Kushina with grin. Girls looked down and indeed there on the ground stood Kushina with predatory look on her face. Girls immediately ran while dodging their mother's chakra chains. They could use the Uzumaki chakra chains too, but compared to Kushina their chains were weak and they had hard time controlling them, so they decided to run. They came into clearing and stopped. Few seconds later Kushina appeared. "Well, it seems this exam will end in the same place it started," said second Kushina, which appeared behind girls. Cage Bunshine, they thought. They also noticed that indeed they were in the same clearing they started their test. "You did good, Naruto-chan, Natsumi-chan," said the third Kushina. Girls looked at her and asked, "What do you mean?" Kushina just smiled and said this. As the two Kushina clones sent chakra for girls, wrapping them in chains. Unable to move, girls looked at their mother. "How did your chains get so fast?" "They were always this fast," answered Kushina. Suddenly Naruto appeared in the clearing. "How much time do we have left?" he asked. 2 minutes. "If you didn't get the bells in 2 hours, I doubt you." Why she didn't get to finish because Naruto interrupted. 2 minutes is more than enough time, he said as he brought out few smoke bombs from his pouch. Kushina got into the stance awaiting his next move. Naruto dropped the smoke bombs under his feet and was enveloped in smoke. He activated his Rinnegan, outstretched his hand and whispered Banshou Tenin. Kushina didn't even notice that the bells were detached from her hips and fell on the ground as 3 Narutos came out of smoke. First threw shurikens at her which she dodged, the clones then ran at Kushina fighting her and forcing her back. The third, original Naruto stopped at the spot his mother stood previously and took the bells. Kushina was surprised when all of a sudden the 2 clones puffed out of existence, leaving only original Naruto, who had the bells in his hand. She looked down and she noticed that she didn't have her bells. When did he? How did he? His train of thought was interrupted when Naruto started talking. "I will give both bells away to Natsumi and Naruto, meaning I sacrifice myself for the team," he said as he gave them bells. Kushina dismissed her clones seeing that test was over. "We all pass, right?" asked Naruto. "Yes, you pass. But I have to ask, how did you get the bells?" asked Kushina, still trying to figure out how did the bells end with Naruto. "You dropped them. I just picked them from the ground. The smoke was just distraction, also it would be easier to move you from your original spot if you didn't see what I was doing. And when you were dealing with the clones I just picked them up," he said. He forgot to mention that the reason she dropped her bells was his gravity technique. "He's hiding something. Whatever he did in that smoke, I'm sure that's when my bells fell. It felt like some unknown force was pulling me. Though it was only for the second and it was weak, I could feel it." Instead of voicing her thought, she smiled at Naruto. "I see, that was smart," she said. "Okay, from now on you are officially Team 7, our first mission is tomorrow, so make sure you're well rested," Kushina said. Right after that, Naruto disappeared in the swirl of fire. "Let's just go home," said tired Natsumi. Naruto nodded her head, she needed to relax. Kushina sighed. "Fine, let's go. Lately I'm worried about him," she said. "He seems to be distancing himself from us. But don't worry, me and Minato-kun will figure something out." The girls looked at their mother. "Lately? He's been like that for years now and you notice it now?" thought the girls. Neither Natsumi nor Naruto voiced that thought though. It would open the door for long conversation and they were too tired. Hokage office. Minato sat in his office, looking at the jonins in front of him. Today was the day. They decided whether or not the teams will become Jonin. Surprisingly, even Kushina just stood there silently, not being her hyperactive self. Something serious must have happened, for her to be like that. Everyone in the room thought. "Alright then everyone, it's time for your report on the Jonin test." Aoba started. Team 1 failed. All of the teams failed, until it was Kushina's turn. "Team 7, passed," she said with smile. Kurenai glanced at Kushina, who was one of 2 people that have never passed a team. With all the cheery stuff it was kinda hard for her to image Kushina not passing everyone. But when she heard gasp from others she believed it was true. "I'm not the only one changing traditions this time around?" asked Kakashi. Asuma watched his friend Kakashi with interest. He never thought that Kakashi will ever pass a team, but it seems that he was wrong. As a matter of fact, Kakashi said so himself, and not only that but apparently Kushina too. Minato was actually surprised. Kushina passing team is one thing as he was expecting it, but Kakashi passing his team as well. "Very well, next." As he nodded at Kakashi. "Team 8 passed." Kurenai stated. "Team 10 is also passed," Asuma said. "Hokage-sama?" Kushina asked in her ninja mode, completely serious. Minato nodded. "Is there something you need?" "Actually yes there is. It's about Naruto." Minato nodded while everyone else straightened up. Just by the look on her face they were sure this is what made her so serious. "Is there something you can report about Naruto?" Minato asked. Kushina nodded. "He definitely isn't Jonin," said Kushina. Minato raised his left eyebrow. "If he isn't capable of being Jonin, then why did you let him pass?" Kushina shook her head no, as if saying that's not it, and tried again, realizing how her words sounded and could have been taken. "Naruto definitely isn't Jonin," she said once again firmly, before continuing. "He is high Chunin, maybe even low Jonin. I didn't fight him using all of my power, but I actually had to be serious." Everyone was now looking at Kushina like she grew second head. After all, she was talking about the dead last, right? Please do tell," said Minato, curious where this was going. "From what I can see, he is calculative and calm during battle. He has high affinity for water. To the point where he performed high-rank water jutsu without any water around him and with just one hand sign. He also developed earth affinity." Als Kushina continued before being interrupted. "Wasn't he the dead last?" asked Kurenai, Kakashi and Asuma nodding in agreement. Even Minato had hard time believing it. Kushina glared at Kurenai for interrupting her. "He was," Kushina stated, "or maybe it was just an act. Doesn't matter. Now where was I? Ah yes. He also has incredible low cage level speed, maybe mid cage, but I am leaning towards low cage little bit more. Overall, I would say he is high A-class shinobi." "I see, is there anything else?" Minato asked. "No, that's all," Kushina said, choosing to leave out the smoke bomb incident and the mysterious pull she felt during their test, since she herself did not understand what was going on and it could be just her imagination. Minato nodded and gave a sign for the Jounin. "Dismissed," he said as they all left, and he closed his eyes. No use thinking about it. He opened his eyes after a few seconds and took a peek at his table and a stack of paperwork already there. "So much," he said, feeling dread overcoming him at the mountain of papers. 1 week later, Naruto and his team just returned from their mission. Team 7 loved this particular mission, while everybody else hated it. The mission was capture Tora the cat, and all Naruto had to do was walk up to it and pick it up. Just like that. Easy money. Naruto liked this mission for different reason. Actually, he likes all D ranks. His reason was simple. Instead of going himself, he could just create a shadow clone, and with idiotic missions like that it wouldn't be dispelled, meaning he could sleep in or train. Now they were in the assignment room and poor Demon Cat had her life almost squeezed out of her by Daimyo's wife. Miss Naruto started. Maybe if you gave her some snacks she wouldn't run. Or maybe, just maybe, if you weren't trying to squeeze her to death she would stop. Naruto said with smile on his face, as if pointing out obvious to a little child, even though what the fuck in his voice was obvious. To everybody's surprise, the woman didn't even acknowledge him and just walked off. "We have finished our mission and we came to request another one," stated Kushina. "Yeah, and make it a C rank while you're at it, Tosan," exclaimed Naruto. Natsumi pitched in as well. "Yeah, these D ranks are getting ridiculous." Naruto for his part stayed silent since it would work for him either way. Iruka didn't like the way things were going, so he responded. "You've only been shinobi 1 week, you're not ready for harder missions." This time Naruto intercepted. "You are right," he said calmly, "we are only shinobi for 1 week and yet we've already done the required number of missions to be enough for our first C." It seems Naruto's right. Team 7 has completed 62 missions, Minato said, looking at some papers, and required amount is 50. "But Hokage-sama, are you sure they are quite ready?" Iruka asked with a concerned tone. Hokage just nodded. "Yes, I believe that is right. After all, it's only a C rank and Kushina is with them." "If you say so." Iruka just accepted it quietly, until a knock from the door came. "Come in," Hokage ordered. Door opened and a man with straw hat and simple civilian clothes walked in. He held a bottle of sake as he looked at Team 7. "Huh, is this my escort team? 3 brats and a woman?" he asked. "Who are you calling brat, you old drunk?" exclaimed Natsumi as she jumped in the old man, trying to punch him. Trying being the key word. As she came close, her hand was stopped by someone else. She looked at owner and saw Naruto. Now killing the client before the mission even starts wouldn't be very beneficial for the village of Muoto," he said with chuckle. Tazuna looked at Naruto, then he looked at Natsumi. "And who are you calling drunk?" "My name is Tazuna, the master bridge builder." Naruto chuckled. "You have nothing to worry about, Tazuna-san," he said. "Well, if you say so, meet me at the gate in 3 hours. We need to get there fast." With that he left. Kushina looked at the door for a while, then she looked at Minato. "Well, it seems we will begin our mission soon," she mused out loud. With that said, Naruto walked out and went to Ijiraku for some ramen, and he also wanted to spend some time with Ayame, while the girls were excited about their first C rank and went home with Kushina to get ready for mission. 3 hours later at the main gate, Naruto was walking through the village to the gate. He looked impassive on the outside, but on the inside he was excited. His first mission outside the village. He was excited about the new challenges, people he would meet, and just seeing the world. He was also excited because his first mission was in Wave, and there just so happened to be a certain island that Naruto wanted to check out. As he reached the gate he realized he was late. His teammates along with Tazuna stood in front of the gate waiting for him. "There was this old lady that need my help to cross the street, and on my way here I saw a black cat, so I had to turn around and take the long way around the village," Naruto said with an innocent smile, making his team and Tazuna sweat drop. At the same time Kakashi stood in the assignment room with his team when he suddenly dropped down on his knees and started crying anime tears, constantly saying, "Someone is idolizing me." "Alright then, let's go. We move at diamond formation. I'm going to take up the rear. Natsumi, you take the left, Naruto, you take the right, while Naruto, you take the front," Kushina ordered. With that all of them walked to Nami no Kuni. On the way, Natsumi asked if there are ninja there, but instead of Tazuna it was Kushina who explained it. After the explanation was over the team walked in the silence for a little while until they saw a small puddle. It hasn't rained for quite the time, thought Naruto, before activating his Sharingan, 3 tomos spinning lazily in his eyes, and he looked at the puddle, immediately seeing through the genjutsu. He stopped the chakra flow to his eyes as he turned around to look at his mother, who gave him a subtle shake of the head as if saying, "Don't do anything yet." He then looked at Natsumi, who was acting normally except he could tell she was stiff. Naruto on the other hand seemed confused. She looked like she knew something was coming, but she just couldn't figure out what it was. When they passed the puddle, 2 masked, chain-wielding ninja emerged from the water and went for Kushina. Kushina dropped to the floor and 2 masked individuals went straight for Tazuna, ignoring the fact that the girls were in their way. "Kasan," yelled Naruto, worried about her mother. Natsumi stood in front of Tazuna, but she seemed nervous, as if she was frozen on her spot from what she just witnessed. Naruto didn't waste time when he saw the masked individuals were about to attack Tazuna and Natsumi. Naruto appeared in front of Natsumi, throwing 2 kunais at each attacker. Masked individuals both dodged effortlessly and threw their chains at young Jinchuriki. Seeing this, Naruto made one hand seal and touched the ground with his free hand as he called out, "Doten, Doryuki," he said, and at the same time a mud wall emerged from the ground in front of him. Naruto made a clone of himself, and the moment the chains hit the wall both clone Naruto and original shot towards their opponents at cage level speed and punched them in the face with chakra enhanced punch, sending them flying, both of them hitting the tree. 2 blondes then made hand seal and took deep breath. "Suten, Suagenden," both clones exclaimed at the same time as both started spitting water bullets at their respective targets. When the duo stopped spitting bullets, they saw both of their assailants unconscious. The clone dispelled itself and the original took some ninja rope and tied them to the tree. "You know, you could have helped any time," Naruto suddenly said, seemingly to no one. Then Kushina showed up with cheery smile on her face as she said, I wanted to see if you could handle yourselves without me." Two girls that had been staring at the masked men with cold eyes, suddenly whirled around when they heard their mother's voice. "Kachan?" Naruto and Natsumi both exclaimed. "You are okay?" said Natsumi. Kushina just pointed behind the girls where her corpse used to be, only for girls to find skewered logs. "You didn't think it was that easy to get rid of me, did you?" she smirked. "Anyway, Naruto Kuden, you know those two?" he said as he pointed at two now conscious mask-wearing ninjas. Gozu and Maizu, also known as the Demon Brothers, both Chunin level. Kiri-nuke-nin, known for working with Zabuza, the Demon of the Mist on quite a few occasions, said Kushina as she turned to regard the Demon Brothers. "What do we owe the pleasure of meeting you here?" said Kushina with a smile that promised pain. Gozu snorted at Kushina. "I'd rather die than tell you," he said. "Is that so?" Naruto cut in with small chuckle. "I can get whatever info we need, but they'll probably die." "That is if they don't start talking like right now," Naruto said to Kushina. "Just give me 2 minutes with them alone," he said as he turned to Gozu and Maizu. He felt a hand on his shoulder. Looking back, he found his mother looking at him. "If they talk, let them live," she said sternly. Naruto frowned at her. "Don't misunderstand what I was saying. The technique I have will allow me to get the information we need, since we cannot be sure from just that little exchange a little while ago, but it will kill them in return. That's why I said that if they don't start talking right now they will die." With that, Naruto turned around and regarded the Demon Brothers. "Now listen closely, you two. Even if you won't talk, I can get the information I need from you, so you will just die in vain," he said in serious manner, slowly walking towards the two. 2 minutes. He heard Kushina's voice. "Come on girls, Tazuna-san, let's leave them alone for a little while." He turned around to see Kushina looking at him with sad, worried eyes, rubbing the back of her shoulder. When she turned around, he could see a slight glow coming from the spot she just rubbed, before it disappeared. Naruto narrowed his eyes a little. He noticed his mother rubbing that particular spot a lot lately, but this was the first time he noticed a glow. He didn't dwell on it, instead he just put it on the back of his mind for later thought and turned to Demon Brothers. So he said calmly, "Here's the deal. If you start talking, I will let you live. If you won't, I will simply take the information I need and you will die needlessly. I will only ask this once. Are you going to talk?" He asked simply. "No. Your bluffs won't work on us," said Maizu. "Yeah, you just want to scare us to reveal some informations." "Well, that's not happening," said Gozu. Naruto sighed. "Whoever said I was bluffing?" he said as he activated Rinnegan. The Demon Brothers gasped when they saw the legendary Dojutsu. "The Rinnegan has amazing powers, and tearing out my opponent's souls and gaining their memories is one of them," he said as he placed his hand on top of Gozu's head and muttered Ningendu. Naruto slowly started removing his hand from Gozu's head and Maizu's eyes grew wide when he saw something akin to screaming soul come out of Gozu. Then Naruto yanked his hand high up and tore the soul out, absorbing the memories of the masked nin. He turned to a horrified-looking Maizu and said, "Your turn, Maizu," Naruto said, and Maizu's eyes grew wide. This kid wasn't bluffing. He could actually take what he wanted from the beginning. When Maizu realized this, he quickly started talking. "No point in dying if the info gets out anyway. We hired by Jigato," Naruto interrupted. "Don't bother anymore, I can't let you live. The moment you saw my eyes you were dead. I can't let the information like that out," he said as he placed his hand on top of Maizu's head. With another mutter of Ningendu, Naruto ripped out Maizu's soul and absorbed its memories. "Rest in peace," he said as he closed his eyes and paid his respects. After a minute he turned around and walked back to his team. When he came there he directed ki at Tazuna, who almost pissed his pants. "Tazuna-san, care to explain to my teammates why are B-rank nuke nin trying to kill you, when we are supposed to be protecting you from bandits, considering that this is a C rank?" Kushina nodded. "Naruto is right, this mission wasn't supposed to involve protection from other ninja. This mission has now become an A rank. Team of Fresh Shinan has no business handling such mission." "Tell us the truth now," Kushina said, releasing her own ki at Tazuna, who was sweating. He thought about it for a little bit, before he decided to tell them the truth. "Our country doesn't have enough money for such a high-ranking mission. So instead I lied about it being bandits and paid for a C rank. Gato hired these ninja because he wants to stop the bridge from being built." Kushina seemed to be thinking, "Well, considering this is dangerous mission and all of you guys are Jinan, I say we return to the village. What about you guys? What do you think?" Naruto was the first to answer. "I say we continue. If we just abandoned a client in the middle of the mission, Won't it be bad reputation for Konoha? Besides, it would not sit well with me. Both Natsumi and Naruto nodded. For once I agree with the Dobi, they said in unison. Well, if you guys say so, I guess that is agreeable. I will be sending some of my summons back to village, to inform them of the current situation. Minute later Kushina came back to the group. Since that has been taken care of. We go, she said in her usual cheery manner. Nami no Kuni. After the continuation of the mission and its change from C to A rank, Team 7 found themselves in the diamond formation once again as they arrived to Nami no Kuni. It was rather foggy, but somehow no one seemed to notice. Suddenly Naruto took out kunai and threw it into one of the nearby bushes. What are you doing? Natsumi asked. Naruto didn't answer as he slowly came towards the bush, to see what he hit. When he came close a white rabbit ran out of bush. Surprised Naruto scooped the rabbit up in her arms. What the hell are you doing? You almost killed him, idiot, Naruto said, but when she saw the serious expression on Naruto's face, she started looking around, then she heard a whirling sound. Look out! Everybody on the ground, Kushina yelled, tackling Tazuna and Natsumi with her, while Naruto tackled Naruto. Everybody stood up and turned around to see a giant cleaver-like sword embedded in the tree. On the sword in front of them stood a masculine man with pale skin, short spiky black hair, brown eyes and small eyebrows. He was wearing bandages over the bottom half of his face. He wore his hideate sideways on his head. He was shirtless, wearing baggy pants with stripped pattern. Kushina looked at him, then at his sword which she recognized as the Kubi Kirabocho. She stood in front of everybody protectively. Aka no shi, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, no wonder the demon brothers failed. The man said. Zabuza, the demon of the mist, a rank missing nin of Karigakure no Sato, I am truly sorry to disappoint you, but I am not the one who defeated them. My cute little Janan took care of them. Zabuza snorted in disbelief. Those brats over there wouldn't stand a chance against the demon brothers by themselves. Don't make me laugh. Zabuza Momochi, Naruto said calmly as he stood next to Kushina. He looked at her and continued. Go ahead, he's all yours. I'll watch them, he said slowly backing up as he stopped in front of the girls and Tazuna. Kushina looked at him out of corner of her eye, as if studying him. After a little while she sighed and faced Zabuza. Naruto, Natsumi, Naruto guard Tazuna, I will take care of this. Despite the fact that Natsumi hated to be left out, she complied knowing that she stood no chance against Zabuza. Naruto simply nodded her head. Zabuza looked at Naruto, who was calmly watching him. Zabuza smirked under his mask. It seems that you've got some guts, boy, but still. He rushed towards Kushina who was just standing still in one place. After I deal with her, you guys are next. Zabuza finished his sentence. Zabuza was already smirking in victory, but that smirk didn't last long, when suddenly chains exploded from Kushina's back, holding the sword off. Then suddenly chains yanked him forward, only for him to meet face to face with Kushina. He was sent flying through the air and landed on the river. He stood up and started forming hand seals. Ninpa, Kirigakure no Jutsu. As mist around them started to become thicker and thicker. Back with Tazuna's group, Naruto moved to stand in front of Tazuna, activating his Shin no Mi, seeing through mist easily now. Natsumi and Naruto both standing at his sides. He looked around, but he couldn't find Zabuza. He then heard Zabuza's voice behind him. It's over, he said as Naruto whirled around to see Zabuza standing behind Tazuna, his sword positioned for a downward swing. Naruto, seeing this, quickly used Shinpo to teleport in front of Tazuna, his hand automatically moving to his left wrist, pumping a little bit of chakra into the seal that resided there. With a puff of smoke, a normal-looking sword appeared in his hand as he swung upwards, meeting with Zabuza's blade, stopping him. As the swords clashed, Kushina whirled around. She realized that Zabuza went after Tazuna instead of her and quickly went towards the general direction of the sound since she couldn't see anything. The girls and Tazuna spun quickly but only saw Naruto with sword in his hand holding back a huge sword and a silhouette of another person, which they assumed was Zabuza. Both girls moved to charge in, but couldn't do anything because suddenly Naruto's legs shot out, kicking Zabuza, who then exploded to water, revealing him to be a water clone. At that moment the mist started receding, and Naruto could hear someone arriving behind them. Naruto quickly turned off his Jujutsu and turned around. When he did, he saw a relieved face of one Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Thank God you guys are all right, she said, but then she frowned as she continued. Damn, he pulled a fuzz. She stopped talking when she noticed the sword in Naruto's hands. Where did that sword come from? She asked. Naruto sighed as he pulled up his sleeve, showing a storage seal. From here, and now is not the time, he said as he pointed behind her. Zabuza then appeared in the same spot and Kushina whirled around looking straight into his eyes. "You are pretty good, Gaki." Zabuza started, "though, I don't know how did you make it so fast. Still, you seem to know what you're doing with that sword of yours, even though it seems pretty lame," he said. Naruto frowned as he started walking forwards. He held his sword holding hand out. Sword was now pointed straight down as he walked past Asuna and the group. "First of all," he said with cold voice, "her name is Kyokusui," he said, and everyone was looking at the sword curiously. "And I would like it if you would refrain yourself from referring to her as an it. And also, while we are at it, she is not a sword, but a Zanpakuto, a soul slayer. As for her being special, shatter, Kyokusui," he said as suddenly the sound of glass breaking was heard and everyone saw cracks appear in their vision until it broke completely and everyone was looking at Naruto confused as he continued talking. "Her ability is called Kanzensai, mean complete hypnosis. It can make you perceive an ant as elephant or swamp as a field or flowers. Kyokusui,'s Kanzensai mean can manipulate all 5 senses. The only requirement is that you look at her once, release state once. After that I can activate Kanzensai mean anytime I wish," he said, frown already replaced with grin. With that everyone's eyes widened when they realized that all of them gazed at the sword. Meaning they could already be in an illusion, though Kushina was already thinking that it's just a simple genjutsu, nothing that can't be easily dispelled. "So, a genjutsu, huh?" Zabuza said, not really worried, as he made a hand sign and said Kai. He then grinned and looked at Naruto. "Let's go, Gaki," he said as they both ran towards each other. Meanwhile Kushina pushed her chakra into Tazuna, dispersing genjutsu upon him as she did the same for herself. Girls also did the same as they watched the battle. It looked like Naruto was being pushed back by Zabuza. Then they ended up on the water and Naruto jumped away from Zabuza, making room between them. Zabuza started doing some hand seals, but he quickly noticed that Naruto was doing exactly the same ones. Then, Zabuza suddenly froze, when he noticed he could see himself standing behind Naruto. "Suten, Suryudan no Jutsu," Naruto exclaimed as huge water dragon formed next to him and went straight for Zabuza. By the time Zabuza realized what was happening, he had no time at all to dodge. The dragon hit Zabuza and continued until it hit the tree, dispersing. Zabuza looked like he was half dead when Naruto appeared in front of him. Kyokusui,'s complete hypnosis is perfect. Even if you realize you're caught in an illusion, there is nothing you can do to break out of it, Naruto said with a matter-of-fact tone. "I wouldn't tell you her ability if all it took break out is few hand signs. In fact, as far as I know, it's impossible to break it by anyone else but me." "Shatter, Kyokusui," Naruto said as he let the sword go. Suddenly, cracks started appearing in front of everyone's vision and Zabuza and Naruto weren't on the water anymore. Instead, they were near the spot they first started fighting. Zabuza grunted as he tried to stand up, but 3 senbon hit him to the neck. Suddenly, a hunter Nen appeared in front of them. "I've been hunting him for quite some time, thank you Shinobi-san," said the masked girl. "No problem," Naruto answered simply. "I'm afraid I must leave." Hunter Nen crouched down, took Zabuza and disappeared, excusing herself. Naruto picked up Kyokusui, turned around and started walking back towards Tazuna and others. He resealed the sword and looked at Tazuna. "Tazuna-san, please lead the way." Naruto gestured to Tazuna, who dumbstruck and regained his composure but still stuttering. "All right," Tazuna said. The rest of the road was mostly quiet, but after a while Kushina decided to break it. "So, this soul slayer of yours, how long do you have it?" Naruto looked at her, then he looked at the rest of the group and saw that their attention was on him. He sighed and decided to just answer. "Few years." Nami no Kuni. When Naruto and the group reached Tazuna's house, they were greeted by his daughter. "Tosan, I'm so glad you're okay," she said as she hugged him. She then turned towards the group of ninja and said, "Hello, my name is Tsunami. Thank you for keeping my father safe," she said as she bowed. "No need for that. After all, it's our job," said Naruto as he stepped forward and extended his hand. "My name is Naruto, pleased to meet you," he said with smile on his face. She shook his hand and smiled. "My name is Naruko Namikaze," said Naruko, then she pointed at Natsumi and Kushina as she said, "That's my sister Natsumi and our mother Kushina." At this Kushina stepped forward. "I am pleased to meet you Tsunami-san," she said with small smile. Tsunami returned the smile and shook Kushina's hand. "Welcome to our house. You must be tired. I'll make sure the guest rooms are ready." "Thank you," Kushina said, nodding. "We should go to sleep. You know it's not over. Tomorrow you need to train," Naruto said. "Wait, what? Didn't you just defeat Zabuza?" asked Natsumi, Naruko nodding her head. "Yeah, what are you talking about?" Naruto looked at them seriously as he said the hunter Nin was his accomplice. "Zabuza is alive and he will come after us again." At this Tsunami, who was leaving to get the rooms ready, whirled around, worried for her father's safety, only to notice that everybody was staring at Naruto. "What the hell are you talking about? The hunter nin took him away, and she why exactly?" Naruto interrupted Natsume's speech. "She took his body. If she was the real thing, she would have cut off his head and destroy the rest of his body. It's standard procedure for hunter nins." Kushina decided to cut in. He is right. Hunter nin would destroy his body so someone from other village wouldn't find out the secrets of his body. "I am surprised you figured that out, Naruto. I was hoping to train you without putting the stress of this whole Zabuza thing on your shoulders, but apparently that's not happening. Tomorrow I'll train the three of you." "I do not need, nor do I want your training, Kushina. Zabuza should be up in about a week, so you've got a week to train them," he said, pointing to his sisters. He turned around and looked at Tsunami. As if reading his mind, she pointed him to a guest room. He thanked her and went there without ever looking back. Both sisters scowled at this and Kushina flinched at the emotionless tone Naruto used, and unconsciously she once again rubbed her shoulder. She remembered what happened week ago after the graduation exam when Naruto got home. Flashback. "Your father should be home by now," Kushina said as she opened the door to their house. And indeed the first thing they saw was Minato waiting for them with a huge smile on his face. "Hey there girls, I heard you are officially getting now." "Good work," he said, and the girls smiled. Kushina's thoughts went to Naruto, wondering how he is and what's he doing. The girls were talking with their father. They said that they were exhausted and just wanted to go to sleep as they started going to their respective rooms. They stopped, however, when they heard their mother's voice. "Dinner will be ready soon. After that we have an announcement to make. It has to do with your brother." Both girls nodded, and that's when the door opened. Naruto walked in and went straight for his room. He stopped when he noticed eyes on him. He looked around and saw that everybody's eyes were on him. "What?" he asked, feeling creeped out. This was weird. His family was acknowledging his presence. That's just weird, Naruto thought. Not to mention that it's the first time they noticed you. Kurami said. "Well, Kurami has got a point, but am I the only one that thinks their sudden change is creepy?" said Kyokusuigetsu. "No, I feel creeped out too," thought Naruto. "Perhaps they finally noticed they've got 3 children?" called out the voice of Senbon Sakura, Naruto's newest Zanpakuto. He acquired Senbon Sakura about a month ago, but with his shadow clones, he already has years worth of practice. He already achieved Bankai, but he didn't have time to really practice with it, though he expected to change that in few upcoming days. "Whatever their reason may be, they are talking to you," said Zangetsu. Zangetsu was Naruto's first Zanpakuto. She was born the same day he met and befriended Anko. After they met and talked, they realized that their lives were pretty similar. At first Anko was reluctant, but after Naruto told her about his life, she could see the fear in his eyes. He was afraid that she would be the same as all the others. Anko, seeing this, gave him a hug and decided to tell him her story. About Orochimaru and how village treated her because of him. At the end of the story, she lone tear on her cheek. Naruto, seeing this, hugged her and promised her he would always be by her side. Anko was little skeptical about that, but she told him that if he kept his promise, she too would always stand by him. That night Naruto didn't sleep. He was thinking about Anko and her life, and about how she didn't deserve her life. About how people treated her like slut, bitch and traitor, even though she has a heart of gold. He didn't want her to live her life like that. He wanted to protect her. Give her happiness she deserves. He didn't want her to cry or to be hurt. And it was from that very desire to protect his loved ones that Zangetsu was born. Kyokusuigetsu was born not too long after he sneaked in the Uchiha compound and read the Uchiha tablet. Kurami told him it was written by the Rikudo Sennin and only those with special eyes could read it. He found out about Sharingan and its evolutions and requirements. Some of the requirements made him sick, and he was glad that his Sharingan were EMS from the beginning. He also read about the Rinnegan. Most of the stuff written there he already knew, however he learned few things that even Kurami didn't know. For example, he also learned that it was possible to have more than one of his clones sent to Limbo. Limbo clones were special. They were created by Rinnegan, and in normal world they are practically useless. Also, creating just one such a clone and sending it to Limbo took most of Naruto's chakra, and he was pretty much out for the day, unless Kurami gave him some of her chakra, so he just assumed it was one clone and that's enough kind of thing. The Limbo clone was actually made by combining the yin and yang elements, creating Onmyoton, the yin-yang release, and creating Limbo clone was actually a lot more taxing on the chakra than the creation of all things jutsu that allowed him to create something out of nothing, which seemed simply ridiculous in his mind, because creating such a clone is basically the same thing as creating something out of nothing. He also learned about Kurami's father, the Sage of Six Paths, also known as Hagoromo Utsutsuki, his brother Homura, his sons Indra and Ashura, The religion he created, 9 Shu, Princess Kaguya and her godlike powers, Juubi, Shinju and Shinju's fruit, and also about the Mugen Tsukuyomi. After he read through all of the tablet he was stunned. He sneaked out and thought about the Mugen Tsukuyomi. He knew it was wrong, but he just couldn't stop thinking about it. What if I could make it real? What if it wasn't just a genjutsu? Everyone's desires coming to fruition. He knew something like that was impossible. However, he just couldn't stop himself from wanting it to be possible. It was that exact moment he decided that he would surpass both Hagoromo, his brother, and maybe even Princess Kaguya, and bring peace to the world. A real peace. Not just a genjutsu. He made that his dream. It was from this desire to turn the illusionary peace into the real thing that Kyokusui Getsu has been born. Senbon Sakura was born from his passion for fighting. As years went by, Naruto realized he loved fighting. Graceful moves, fast attacks, quick thinking. All of it. Dangerous yet beautiful, he thought. And Senbon Sakura was embodiment of that. Beauty and danger in one package. Could you repeat that? Naruto asked, confused. He had no idea what she was saying. I said dinner is going to be ready soon. Also, me and your father have an announcement to make, she said, and Naruto nodded and went to his room. He needed a shower. After 15 minutes he came down, noticing he was the last one. He also noticed how they were just sitting there as if waiting for him. Did hell finally freeze? He thought as he sat down and started eating. He noticed how everyone started eating too once he started. The silence was broken by Minato. So Naruto, how was the exam? He asked. Young teen looked at Kushina, then back at him. Lame, I didn't get to finish my dance. Naruto answered. Dance? Asked a confused Minato. He means fight. He always refers to fight as dance. Answered Natsumi. Oh? Do you really think you stood a chance? Kushina asked teasingly, smirking. Naruto never answered as he continued eating at fast pace. Kushina frowned at this and unconsciously she rubbed her shoulder. Naruto also noticed how she seemed to flinch from pain before she rubbed the spot on her shoulder. When Naruto finished his meal he stood up and went over to the sink as he started cleaning his plate. Kushina frowned when she saw this. Naruto-kun, you don't have to do that. I will clean it, don't bother. Naruto interrupted her. I wouldn't want to bother you, or get in your way, he said calmly, without ever looking behind him. If he did he would notice obvious expression of hurt on Kushina's face. He finished with his plate and went for his room, but his father's voice called out to him. Go to the living room. We have an announcement. Naruto almost groaned but complied nonetheless. He sat down on the couch and waited. Soon the rest of the family arrived. The girls sat down beside him while Minato and Kushina stood in front of them. Naruto-kun, Kushina started, we decided that it is time for us to train you. Natsumi and Naruto smiled at this. After their talk with Kyuubi they felt bad for treating him like that. After witnessing his strength in his fight against Mizuki it was obvious he wasn't a weakling. However, after that they realized that it was dumb to judge if he was worthy to be their Oni-chan based on that. Both Naruto and Natsumi promised themselves that they would be better sisters for him, even though he was still his annoying self, so only to a certain extent. That's great, said Natsumi. Naruto nodding her head in agreement. Right? Now we can train together. No, came short answer from Naruto. Everyone looked at Naruto with wide eyes. What do you mean, Naruto? Your mother and I are both splendid shinobi, do you not want to learn our styles and techniques? Asked a bewildered Minato. Naruto looked at him calmly and said. No. You are like 6 years late. I am not interested anymore. If that is all then I am going to my room. I need to rest, Naruto said nonchalantly, as he stood up and went to his room. Kushina and Minato stood there shocked while the girls held sad expressions. Naruto wasn't interested to become part of their family anymore. The girls understood that, but it was still sad to see their brother not even considering himself as part of the family. Flashback end. Tomorrow we will train, for now you guys go to sleep. Kushina ordered. Naruto and Natsumi nodded. They got into their bed and went to sleep. Next day, Naruto woke up to a rather interesting morning. He was the last one to wake up. As usual. When he came down and went to the kitchen he found a couple of new people sitting at the table. Smiling Tsunami came out on Naruto-san, you're finally up. Come, breakfast is ready, she said. Naruto smiled at her. Thank you Tsunami-san. By the way, Naruto is just fine, he said as he went to the table where his team along with 4 new guests were already sitting. The 4 new guests were Team 11, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, a pale kid that Naruto didn't recognize, and Hatake Kakashi. Naruto gazed questioningly at his mother. She seemed to understand what he meant and started talking. After the whole Zabuzai incident I sent summons to inform the village of our progress and they were sent here as our support. Naruto nodded and started eating his breakfast. Others engaged in conversation, but Naruto didn't really care. It was delicious. Thank you Tsunami-san, Naruto said grinning. Tsunami nodded with smile, it was the least she could do for keeping her father safe. Well, time for the training. Let's go to the forest, said Kushina in her usual cheery manner. That includes you too Naruto, she said firmly. Naruto groaned but followed the order. He just woke up, he wasn't in the mood for arguing. Rest of the Team 7 and Kakashi followed. Where are you going Kakashi-sensei? Asked Sakura. Kakashi turned around and looked at her. We are going to the forest with Kushina-sama and her team. You guys need training too, he said as he brought out Icha and followed Team 7. Soon whole Team 11 followed Kakashi and the rest. Actually, I was hoping you would protect the bridge builder Kakashi, Kushina said. Of course Kushina-sama. Kakashi nodded remembering the actual mission. Though my team doesn't have stamina that Uzumaki have. Try not to overdo it with them, he said, though he didn't look concerned as he walked back to the kitchen informing Tezuna about the most recent developments. When they arrived to the forest Kushina stopped as did the rest of the genin. Alright then, first off I need to know how much did Kakashi teach you? She said looking at Team 11. He taught us about the teamwork, said Sakura. And? Kushina said expectantly. And that's it said Sasuke. Kushina frowned at that. Well, for as long as I remember Kakashi was always lazy, but that's little bit too much. Alright then we will start with tree climbing, Kushina said. But Kushina-sama, we already know that, Sakura said. Even without hands? Replied Kushina. Sakura and Sasuke looked at her as if she has grown a second head. The pale-looking kid, whose name was Sai, looked unmoved. Is that even possible? Screamed Sakura. Naruto winced at the volume the pink fangirl was using and walked up to the tree. Yes, it is, she said bringing attention to herself as she started walking up the tree defying gravity. Soon she reached the top of the tree. It's a chakra control exercise. You channel your chakra to your feet. Too much and it'll blow you backwards, too little and you won't stick, Naruto said, and with that she jumped down from the tree. Exactly. Kushina said. I already taught that to my team. So we're going to be doing the water walking exercise over there, she said pointing to a nearby lake. She heard a scoff from her right. When she turned she saw Naruto looking at her with eyes that clearly said yeah, right. She then realized that while she taught Naruto and Natsumi the tree climbing exercise, she didn't teach Naruto since he didn't get the early training like the girls. Actually, Naruto-kun, you should try tree climbing now, she said. Instead of following the order, Naruto pushed himself from the tree he was leaning on and started walking off. What a waste of time. I will do my own training, he said. Naruto, you are not leaving this place till you can get on top of that tree, Kushina said pointing towards the tree that was behind her. Naruto looked at the tree she was pointing to and calmly walked to it. He then pushed chakra to his feet and jumped high, spinning upside down in the air, landing on the branch from the downside. I could do this since I was 7 years old. That's why I said it was a waste of time, he said jumping down from the branch, landing gracefully and walking away calmly. I'll be back around dinner, don't look for me, he said. I'm going to finish that jutsu. He thought, determined to have it ready for use in his next battle. Sasuke and Sakura both had wide eyes and soon started doing the exercise. Sai was just standing there, his fake smile firmly on his face, not moving an inch. Kushina sighed, deciding to let Naruto do his own thing for now. She turned around and looked at her daughters. She made a shadow clone and left it with Team 11. Alright, let's go, she said as she started explaining how water walking worked. After their training, all of them returned to Tezuna's house. Natsumi and Naruto were both exhausted, but they made a pretty good progress with their training, so they had smiles on their faces. Sai was fake smiling. Sakura was worshipping Sasuke. And Sasuke was brooding. Both Sai and Sakura had done their tree climbing exercise, while he, the Uchiha elite, was still stuck at something like that. 1 week later. Next couple of days were pretty much the same as the first day of training. Only difference being that Sakura and Sai moved to the water walking exercise, with Sasuke joining in day after. And the girls finished the water walking, and instead Kushina used some chakra paper to find out their affinities. Natsumi had high water affinity and low wind affinity, and Naruto had strong affinity for wind and low for water. After finding out their affinities, Kushina taught them few water jutsu. And Naruto disappearing and training alone. You are really crazy, thought Naruto when she remembered how Naruto trained. She and Natsumi went looking for him because it was really late and he still hasn't arrived back. They went to the forest and found hundreds of Narutos training, all of them doing the same thing. The whole area has been destroyed. They were holes in the ground, Some trees looked burned while others looked like they had been cut. Suddenly all the clones dispelled and exhausted-looking Naruto appeared in front of them. It's rude to spy on others. Didn't your parent teach you that? Naruto asked. Naruto frowned. We weren't spying. Kacchan was worried so we went to look for you. You're usually back by now, Naruto chuckled. I didn't realize I had a curfew, he said amused. He then looked up and realized it was rather late. Well, I guess I can finish it tomorrow. I am pretty tired, he said as they started walking back. So what were you doing back there? Asked Natsumi curious. Trying to perform a jutsu, Naruto said in a matter-of-fact tone, though it was obvious he was playing with Natsumi and Natsumi groaned. Do you always train that way? Naruto asked curious. Experience from the clones goes back to the original when it is dispelled. Meaning if I make 365 clones, I will get year worth of practice in just one day. The only reason I can train that way is because I am an Uzumaki and because of Kyuubi. Otherwise I'd be dead by now, Naruto said seriously. Don't even think about training the same way. Kyuubi makes sure I don't die. You only possess her chakra, but you are still Uzumaki so you can probably pull it off at smaller scale. Max 20 clones though, he said strictly. If you are going to use my training method you are going to follow what I just said, he said. Also, keep it a secret. Damn, I understand why he is so powerful now. Thought Natsumi. Both hers and Naruto's jaw dropped. Their brother had trained himself for years. Kyuubi told them that. And if he was training like that always, it made sense that he possessed such power. When they arrived back Naruto greeted everyone and went for sleep obviously worn out. When Naruto woke up next day he came down and started eating his breakfast. Then Inari, Titazuna's grandson started talking. What are you doing here? You're all just going to die. Gato is just too powerful, he said. Naruto was the one to reply. Well, aren't you just a big ball of sunshine? Don't worry, we will deal with Gato, he said. Deal with him? You just come here from your pretty village, living happy life and say something like that? You have no idea what it means to suffer, but you will learn if you don't leave. Inari stopped talking when he suddenly felt huge ki wash over him from Naruto who calmly stood up. Others felt it too and the non-ninja like Tsunami and Tezuna were frozen in place. Others were tense. Kakashi and Kushina got ready to intercept Naruto if something happened. Naruto and Natsumi looked at each other both thinking the same thing. Oh shit. Naruto walked calmly towards Inari, who was scared shitless. Tsunami seemed to snap out of her state and went to stand between Inari and Naruto, but she felt someone's hand on her shoulder. She looked around to see Tezuna, who was shaking his head. He won't hurt him and Inari needs this, he whispered. Tsunami frowned and went to her son but Tezuna stopped her once again. I don't like this any more than you do, but Inari needs to wake up, he said sternly. Naruto stopped in front of Inari and he smiled for a second, but he quickly covered it by scowl. Though the ki was still there. Tell me Pipsqueak, do you have a loving family that takes care of you? He asked and Inari dumbly nodded. Do you have a place you can call home or a place where you can sleep? He asked once again, Inari once again nodding. Then you don't know what suffering truly is. Hey, sometimes I actually had to sleep outside cause my family, he said, doing the universal sign of quotes, locked me out. He then turned around and proceeded to take off his cloak and t-shirt. Immediately he heard gasps behind him. There were scars on his back. They were not huge or anything, however there was one huge one. Naruto and Natsumi both winced recognizing that one was the one Mizuki gave him. While Kyuubi could heal him, if the injury was too deep there would be a scar left behind. He turned around and another set of gasps followed when he turned around. There was a huge scar on the right side of his chest. On his left side, even though it was small, there was scar that looked like it was made by some animal, probably a dog. And indeed it was a dog. Inuzuka dog to be exact. On his master's order. There was also a couple of smaller scars on his right side. Throughout the years, the villagers did this to me. At first they made sure to go easy on me cause they didn't want the Hokage to find out. I remember getting home and telling my parents about it. However, because of Kyuubi's soul being sealed within me, all of my injuries already healed and they wrote it off as me just wanting some attention. This repeated couple more times until I exploded and started yelling at my parents, asking them why would they let something like that slide. But since there were no injuries they didn't believe me. My mother slapped me and my father started yelling at me to stop telling such lies and that they had enough of it, sending me to my room. Next a couple of drunkards started chasing me when I heading home. Eventually it became just another mob. They chased me to a dead end, but this time it was different. They've been beating the shit out of me for almost a month now yet nothing ever happened. No one noticed. So since no one noticed they could get rougher. They didn't need to hold back. He traced the scar on his chest. This scar. It was made by one of the Anbu under the Hokage's command that time, he said, and once again he could hear gasps coming from everybody. He took his shirt and put it back on along with his cloak. As you can see, Inari, I am not very popular in my village. Ninja and civilians alike hate me. I have been beaten, tortured, poisoned, and later there were even few rape attempts, but by that time I already knew how to protect myself. Eventually they stopped forming mobs, seeing that I could fight back now, but even to this day it's obvious they hate me. This has been done to me by the same sons of bitches that I swore to protect. But do you know what the difference between me and you is? I don't bitch and cry about it, he said as he turned around and walked out of kitchen. Thank you for the meal, Tsunami-san, but I am afraid I lost my appetite. I am going to train, he said, opening door. Naruto shot out of her seat, immediately going after him. Wait, Kushina yelled. But both Naruto and Naruto were already gone. We'll go after them, said Kakashi, and went after them. Kakashi-sensei, yelled Sakura, and started running after him. Sasuke decided to just leave as this seemed like a family problem, so he went after Sakura. And Sai just followed the rest of Team 11. Inari shot out from his seat and ran to his room. Tsunami wanted to go after him but was once again stopped by Tazuna. Leave him alone for now, he said. Tsunami frowned at her father but nodded nonetheless. They turned towards the shinobi in the room and Tsunami looked at Kushina, who was crying. Was his life really that bad? She asked, and Kushina started shaking her head. It couldn't be. It couldn't. It's impossible. Bullshit. Angry Natsumi exclaimed. While I don't really know what kind of life he had, I know that he has been ignored by our family. Are you telling me you didn't ignore him his whole life? It was always about us. When we were deciding where to eat, if Naruto said ramen and Naruto said sushi, then we were eating sushi. If we went for movies, if Naruto wanted comedy and I wanted horror, we would watch horror. It's not that he's been distancing himself. He just lost interest to become part of our family. He was always ignored. He just got tired of it. When was the last time you heard him refer to one of you as mother or father? Natsumi waited for a minute but Kushina was silent entire time. See? You don't remember. That's because he refers to you as Kushina and Minato. For as long as he can remember he had to take care of himself, she said angrily. Naruto and me are the same. We were never family to him, but we are at least aware of it and are trying to make up for it, unlike you. No. I didn't, Kushina said. The pain on her shoulder was now unbearable as she screamed from pain and fell down on the ground. She was clutching her shoulder in pain, but her mind was on something completely different. No, I wouldn't abandon my child, she thought frantically. By now Tsunami, Tazuna, and Natsumi were by her side trying to figure out what is happening. There was a purple glow on her shoulder and Kushina's screams got louder before she blacked out from pain and exhaustion. As she was lying there, Natsumi took the hand that was still on her shoulder and moved it. She then moved her close to the side a bit so she could see, and she let out a gasp when she saw a seal there. She was taught little bit about seals, and since she was an Uzumaki she naturally had better understanding of sealing techniques than most people. She was inspecting the mark on her mother's shoulder for about 5 minutes. Tazuna and Tsunami stayed silent, seeing that Natsumi was obviously doing something, or at least trying to figure something out. Shit. They heard Natsumi and instantly asked what was going on. Tazuna-san, Tsunami-san, I need you to keep this a secret. For now let's move her up and let her rest. When Kakashi and his team return, don't say anything about this to them, and when Naruto and Naruto come back send them to me. Tell them it's serious. Both nodded, but Tazuna was curious what was going on. So what exactly is that mark? He asked after they put Kushina to bed. Natsumi looked at them for a little while. It was a seal. Put on her without her consent and knowledge. I'm not that good with seals, but I can understand enough to know that it's a loyalty seal. Basically it's kind of like a more subtle version of slave seal, though it's obvious she is fighting it. She saw that both Tazuna and Tsunami had wide eyes and dropped jaws. Good. Now that you understand how bad the situation is, I expect you not to tell Kakashi and others. This needs to be kept secret since we don't know when or who put that seal on. Is a lot better with seals than me, but there's no way she will be able to do something about seal of this level. I hope Naruto knows something about seals. If not, then we will just have to wing it and finish this mission with her like that. Once we return home, Tosen is a seal master, he should be able to deal with this, Natsumi said seriously. Both Tazuna and Tsunami nodded. Good, now let her rest. I'll wait for her to wake up so that I can explain things to her, she said as she lied down to bed next to Kushina's. Tsunami and Tazuna left the room. Who could have put that seal on her? And when? And what do they want? Thought Natsumi as she closed her eyes. Meanwhile, with Naruto and Naruto. Naruto stopped when he arrived to port. He was just standing there for a few seconds before he spoke. Why are you following me, Naruto and Muoto? Naruto didn't answer, instead she just gave him a hug. Naruto was surprised at first, but after a while he returned the hug. "I'm sorry," he heard her say. His expression changed from soft one to confused. "Why?" he asked softly. "For everything. You don't deserve the treatment you get," Naruto hummed. "Perhaps. I am awesome after all," Naruto said with slight chuckle. "I don't get it. How can you still be such an annoyingly happy-go-lucky idiot after everything you went through?" Naruto asked, pulling back a little bit so she could see his face. "That's a easy one. If I turned into a I hate everyone and everything emo kid, eventually I would have become the same as villagers. Blinded with hatred, pain and sadness. Instead I focused on becoming strong. Not for me, but for people who saved me from becoming the emo kid. My precious people protected me when I needed it the most, helped me when I was in trouble. There is nothing I could ever do to repay them. They are my support and I will always be theirs," said Naruto with conviction. Naruto looked at for a little while before soft, but sad smile appeared on her face. "I don't deserve such an amazing brother," she said quietly. Suddenly Naruto grabbed her bridal style and started running. Before she even knew it, she's standing on her legs again, hiding behind wall with Naruto. "What the?" she said, blushing from both embarrassment and anger. "Just watch and wait," he said. She peeked from the corner and after few seconds she saw Team 11. "They followed you," Naruto said casually, leaning on the wall, eyes closed. "So? They are not our enemies," said confused Redhead. "If they see us they will bring us back. I wasn't planning on coming back tonight." The Inari incident happened at frighteningly good time for me to pass this opportunity. Although I do admit that spilling my guts in front of everyone wasn't the brightest idea, even more so with Kushina being present, but it still worked out pretty good in the end. Everyone bought the anger act. Naruto grew even more confused by that. "What are you talking about?" she asked, watching as Kakashi and the rest turned back and went away. "I want to explore a certain place. So I am not coming back tonight." "Well, everything I said back there was true. I wasn't really angry, I just acted so I could get away," Naruto said. "Explore?" asked the redhead. "The only way you're finding out is if you come with me. Either way I am not coming back." She scowled at her brother. "They are gone," she said as she stopped hiding behind the wall. "So, are you coming?" Naruto asked, still in the same position, eyes closed. Naruto sighed. "Sure, why not? We are coming back tomorrow, right?" she asked, unsure. "Yup," Naruto said, pushing himself off the wall. "You finished the water walking exercise, right?" Naruto asked. "Yes, but what does?" She stopped when she noticed where Naruto was looking. She looked the same direction and all she saw was water. "You can't be serious. We can just take the boat instead." She looking at him with expression that clearly said dumbass. "No, we can't. Boat won't be able to get there. We are running. Let's go. The sooner we are there the better," he said as they jumped on the water and started running. They were running for about an hour and a half, just making small talk with Naruto, learning small things about Naruto and other way around. "Whoa. A whirlpool," said Naruto. Both of them stopped running and Naruto had small smile on his face. "It seems we're getting close," Naruto said as he started looking around. "Aha! There," Naruto said, pointing to island in distance that seemed to be in the middle of dozens of whirlpools. "What is wrong with you? How the hell do you expect us to get there?" Naruto asked, looking at Naruto with ridiculous expression on her face. "That's easy. We fly," he said, as if it was normal for humans to do that. "We fly? Look, if this is another one of your pranks I swear I will kick you." "Ah, put me down, idiot," yelled Naruto when Naruto suddenly picked her up bridal style once again and activated his Rinnegan. He used Ava Path to push himself of the water and started flying. Naruto stopped struggling and looked at her brother with odd expression etched on her face. "He's actually flying. He can actually fly," she thought, looking up at her brother. When she looked at his eyes she noticed his Rinnegan was active. "Is it because of his eyes?" she thought. She soon dismissed it as she snuggled into his chest and closed her eyes. After running so long on the water she was exhausted. She was slowly falling asleep with a smile on her face and Naruto's strong arms snuggling into his muscular, but not overly muscular chest as she inhaled his scent. Suddenly her eyes shot open. "I did not just think that. He is my brother," she thought frantically. She looked up to see that Naruto didn't seem fazed by her sudden outburst. He was looking straight ahead with no expression on his face, as if she wasn't even there. She did, however, notice that his arms held her more tightly to him. "Careful. We will be there soon." "Just a few more minutes," Naruto said. Naruto blushed as she felt his strong arms holding her protectively. "Crap. This can't be happening. I am not falling for him. Though I do have to admit that he is hot. The scars make him even hotter, but still. she thought. However, she looked at his handsome face, she felt herself blush even deeper shade of red. Damn it, I need to get this under control. She noticed that they were slowly descending. She looked around and saw that they were already at the island, but there were ruins everywhere around them. I don't get it. What is this place? What could you possibly want from here? There is nothing here except old ruins. Naruto asked, confusion clear in her voice. I wonder. I think you are wrong and that there is something left. Something worth the trouble. Something only our family has access to. Excluding me, Naruto, of course, Naruto said, further confusing his sister. This is Uzumaki, home to all Uzumaki. Or at least most of them. This is the place where our ancestors lived, Naruto said. Naruto was shocked. This was the former home of her clan? What happened? She asked, curious. I'm surprised, Naruto, Naruto said. I thought Kushina has told you. She used to live here before she came to Konoha, you know. She didn't look at him as she answered, instead choosing to watch the ruins. She told us about Uzumaki clan, but this is the first time I hear about the Uzumaki village. Naruto looked at her. I see. This place was destroyed during the war. I am sure you know that Uzumaki clan was feared cause of their knowledge on seals. We have natural talent for them. A common seal master is a simple beginner compared to Uzumaki seal master. That and Uzushio was strong enough to become 6th grade village. And other villages feared that. So they decided to erase the threat. Kiri, Kumo and Iwa formed a temporary alliance and invaded this place. I suppose Konoha can also be held responsible in a way since they were close allies with Uzushio, yet when they were asked to help they flat out refused. Still, even against allied forces of 3 hidden villages, more than 75% of enemy forces were destroyed before Uzushio was completely overwhelmed and destroyed. Naruto explained. Naruto started walking and Naruto quickly followed. Still, what are we doing here? She asked as they were walking trough ruins. I am hoping to find some scrolls about seals. Maybe even learn about past. But mostly I'm looking for a certain place. It was built for training purposes. I'll tell you more about it once we find it, he said, not really caring about anything else than said training chamber. They were walking trough the ruins in silence for a couple of minutes before they saw a tower. That must be the Uzukage Tower. Let's check it out, Naruto said. Naruto nodded and started walking towards the tower along her brother. When they were in front of said tower they noticed it looked untouched. Let's go in, ni? Naruto said cheerfully. Naruto merely nodded and walked alongside her brother. Suddenly a bright yellow wall appeared around the tower. What's that? A barrier? Now it makes sense why this is the only place still standing. We can't get in, said the redhead with frown. She was curious what was inside. It seems so. However, you can wipe that frown off your face, Naruto. Look, answered the blonde Jinchuriki, pointing at the words that started appearing on the wall. Only those with Uzumaki blood may pass. Spoke too soon, Naruto, Naruto said with chuckle as he started walking forwards. She pouted and followed after him, passing through the wall and going inside. After coming in they were pleasantly surprised by how clean the place looked after so many years. Naruto activated the Rinnegan to ensure that no more surprise barriers or seals catch them off guard. Stay behind me. There is a possibility that there are a few traps here, he said calmly, walking forward, his eyes scanning the hallway. As they walked through the door at the end of the hallway they found stairs. What do you think, Naru-chan? Up or down? Asked the blonde. I don't know. Up, I guess, she said, not really caring. They went up and went through the door. There was another hallway. This time there were a bunch of rooms on the left and right. They went through all the rooms, but they didn't find anything important. They encountered couple of seals and barriers, but Naruto made quick work of them using the Rinnegan's Predapath. At the end of the hallway there was another room. They went in and found out that it was the office of Uzukage. After a couple of hours of searching the room they found out about the storage room, where Uzushio kept jutsu scrolls, sealing scrolls and more. They also found out about the Uzumaki tree. Apparently it was kind of like family tree but more, it also showed if said person was alive or dead. Meaning if there were any other Uzumaki out there they would know with just a look on the Uzumaki tree. They continued searching since for a while longer when Naruto found something. Hey Dobi, what's this? The Uzumaki time house. She read out loud. She was startled however when Naruto shouted in joy. Finally. That's the main reason we came here. I don't know. Time house? You said that the place you were looking for was built for training purposes. This sound more like some weird house that lets you relieve your memories or something like that. Not to mention that whatever purpose the house serves it's a ridiculous name, Naruto chuckled at her. Lets you relieve memories, eh? Trust me, it's nothing like that. The Uzumaki time house is the pinnacle of Uzumaki seals. It's covered in seals that alternate time flow. 1 year in that house is only 1 day outside. It's got everything you need to survive and it has an indestructible training chamber. The time house is what really showed the difference between an Uzumaki and a common seal user. Though I do admit that it's an idiotic name, Naruto said grinning. Naruto couldn't believe it. Seals that alternate time flow? How is that even possible? Her father is a seal master, but he never mentioned that such a seal even exists. Even more shocking was that her mother was a Uzumaki seal user level 6, but she never mentioned seal even remotely as amazing as that. Hell, Naruto had interests in Fuinjutsu herself and she made a lot of research on it, but this was first time she heard about something like that. You can't be serious, she said in quiet tone. I am. It's the truth. You'll see soon enough, Naruto said still grinning. If he spent year in the time house, and each day he would make just 365 clones, he can do lot more and continue training. He could actually gather 365 years worth of training in just 1 day. He could not wipe the stupid grin off his face. We have everything we wanted and more. Come Imuoto, it seems everything we need is downstairs, Naruto said casually. Naruto looked at him. What are you planning to do now? Naruto smirked. Why, I am going to see if any of our relatives are still alive, then I'll check the storage room and finally I'll lock myself in the time house for a year. And you are staying with me since you can't leave? Naruto looked at him like he was crazy. No way, you told me we would come back tomorrow. Naruto's smirk grew. But we will. To everyone else it will be just day. While we will train for 1 year. Seeing that Naruto was about to protest he quickly continued. Look Imuoto. I am staying here training for 1 year. If you really want to go back, that's fine. I'll have a clone fly you back and I will return tomorrow. Or you can stay here with me for 1 year and train. Chunin exams will be soon and with me training you for 1 year those idiots won't hold a candle to you. So what is it? He asked neutrally. He didn't really care, even if she left he wouldn't be alone there was still Kurami and his Zanpakuto spirits. He was simply offering her a chance to get stronger. At first he was worried about being lonely for a whole year, but when he thought about it he came to conclusion that it didn't matter since he wasn't alone in the first place. He just thought it would be nice for at least one person to be there with him physically not just in his head. In the end he came to conclusion that it didn't matter. Naruto on the other hand was thinking. This was great opportunity. She could get a lot stronger in 1 year. Not to mention that it was her brother training her. Recollecting the memory of his power when he fought Mizuki, went toe-to-toe with her mother using only small fraction of his power, easily defeating the demon brothers and even making Zabuzama Mochi from Kiri Shinobi Gatana Nanan and Shu look like newbie. Her brother was the most powerful person she knew and she was pretty sure that he was hiding more power from her and everyone else. Getting trained by him seemed like a very good idea. On the other hand she would have to go a whole year of not seeing her family and friends. That however was quickly discarded as it would only be 1 day for the rest of the world. Nodding to herself she looked at Naruto. Fine. I'll stay here with you and train. Seeing Naruto smile a very creepy smile she felt a shiver run down her spine. Good. That's good, said Naruto, the creepy smile not leaving his face. I get to train you for 1 year. He said in cheerful manner the creepy smile still settled on his face. Suddenly his face gained a serious expression. Listen, and listen well Imuoto. During training I make rules and you listen to them. When I say jump you ask how high. No talking back. I don't care what you do outside the training, but once we enter the training chamber you will listen to my every word. Got it? The blonde asked. Hi. I get it, Naruto said obediently. Good. Also my training will be harsh. I am telling you right now. If I give you an order and for whatever reason you won't go through with it consider the training done and you can go back to Tazuna-san. Understood? He continued. Hi. I understand, she said once again. Well then it's time to go check the Uzumaki tree, then we'll check the storage room and grab whatever scrolls we find and then we start our training. Sounds good? He said as his serious expression disappeared and the happy-go-lucky idiot returned. Naruto smiled seeing her brother return back to normal. To be honest it creeped her out seeing him that serious. Yeah, sounds good. Come on I'm curious about this Uzumaki tree, she said walking down to the basement where the Uzumaki tree was supposed to be. Following the directions in the Yozukage's file they came to the big room. On the wall there was a glowing family tree. Most of the names had red glow accompanying them, but there were a couple of names that had green glow. Quickly coming to conclusion that the green ones were the ones still alive they started looking through the names and photos belonging to the names. Most of the names didn't have photos tough only few and not one of them was glowing green. They even found their own names glowing green confirming their thoughts about the meaning of green and red glows. There was one name which caught Naruto's attention. He looked at it for a couple of seconds before reading out loud. Mei Terumi, catching Naruto's attention. Is she a Uzumaki too? Interesting. Naruto said. It seems that her mother was a Uzumaki. Naruto's voice called out, pointing at the name of Mei's mother, which had a red glow. I will make sure to remember this, he said, activating Sharingan, 3 tomos spinning lazily as he burned the whole Uzumaki tree into his memory. He placed a Shinpo marker in the room before saying, "Let's go to the storage room." Naruto happily followed, since after that her training would start. She was looking forward to her training. Arriving to the storage room and seeing countless scrolls, he decided to make this quick as he summoned 1,000 clones and said, "Alright, get everything useful to the training chamber in the time house and drop the rest somewhere else in the time house. There may be some useful information in there," he said as clones saluted to the original and started to do their work. "You know you shouldn't abuse those poor shadow clones like that, right?" asked Naruto. She was highly impressed by the fact that he just made 1,000 clones and seemed fine. "The clones are clones. They are me and they feel exactly the same on this matter. Even though they have a mind of their own, they still retain my mindset. They want to get this done quickly so we can get to our training. Let's go to the time house." He ended with grin. Naruto grinned back at this. "Let's go. I can't wait," she said, walking towards the time house. Once they arrived to the house, Naruto felt his last clone puff out of existence. "It seems they are done moving the scrolls. One of my clones had the bright idea of simply teleporting the scrolls. After that it was a matter of minutes," he said. Naruto was surprised once again. "You can teleport things? Is there something you can't do?" Naruto chuckled as they went to the basement where the training chamber was. "No, I can't just teleport random things. But I can teleport myself and anything that's touching me," he said, opening the door to the basement. Once he did, both Naruto and Naruto saw a huge training ground and both of them were rendered speechless for the second. "I already love this place," he said while Naruto nodded dumbly. "Okay, first things first. Seals," Naruto said. "What about them?" she asked, confused. "Give me your hand." She did as asked, remembering what he said about her training. "Okay, I will place seals on your hand and explain everything while getting them ready," he said, and Naruto nodded. Naruto outstretched his hands, blue fire appearing in left hand and red fire appearing in right hand. Naruto watched in fascination, trying to figure out what he was doing. He brought his hands together, the two flames becoming one as he called out, "On my Oton, Banbtsusozo." He brought his hands down when the combined flame became pure white light. When the light died down, there was a brush and black ink simply floating in the air. Naruto took them and looked at shocked Naruto. "Give me your hand, Amuoto," he said, and she did as she was told. He quickly finished the seals and activated them. Both seals started glowing and suddenly number 2 appeared in the middle of each seal. Naruto suddenly felt a lot heavier. She looked at her hand and brought it up to inspect the seals, only to find out that it was a lot harder to move her hand. "I see," she said. "Gravity and resistance seals. The 2 in gravity seal means that gravity is now affecting me twice as much. That's why I feel so heavy." Naruto smiled at his sister. "Correct. The 2 in resistance seal basically means that it's twice as hard to move. They will help with your speed and power. If you send a little bit of chakra in the seals, you will be able to add or subtract. Right now I want you to raise both seals up to the point where you will feel that it will be exhausting walking like that, but still manage to do anything you would normally be able to," he said, and Naruto nodded immediately following the order. She soon found out that force seemed like her body simply wasn't hers anymore and that gravity seemed to be crushing her, so she settled at level 3 for both the gravity and resistance seals. She looked at Naruto. "I don't think I can deal with higher level," she said, and Naruto nodded. "Okay, first exercise is easy. Sprint until you fall from exhaustion," he said. Naruto looked at him with wide eyes. "What? You expect me to do that?" she yelled. She did come to an immediate halt when she saw Naruto glare at her. "We already talked about this. You can do it or you can refuse and go back to Tazana's inn," he said in cold tone. Seeing as she was silent for a while, he took that as a refusal as clone puffed into existence. "Take her back to the inn. Make sure she returns." Safi was cut off by his sister before he could finish the sentence. "No. I'll do it. Kami, what a slave driver," she said. "By the way, thanks for this. I appreciate it," Naruto said before she started running. Chapter 3, Tazana's Inn. Natsumi woke up and she started looking around. She saw that Kushina was still asleep. She stood up and went to the window. When she looked out, she noticed that it was late afternoon already. What an exhausting morning, she thought. She looked at her sleeping mother and frowned. Who could have put that seal on her? And should I even tell her about that? What if the one who put that seal on her finds out it's gone? Will he try to kill her? And us? Is there even a way to get rid of that seal? Would Tosama be able to get rid of it? And just how much is that seal influencing her? Is our mother really our mother? Natsumi shook her head. There was too many questions, but no answers. Are Naru-chan and Naruto back yet? She thought. She went downstairs to check if her siblings are back. When she arrived she found people sitting at the table. Dinner? Must be. Did I really sleep that long? She shrugged and greeted everyone. Hi everyone. Are Naruto and Naruko back yet? Tsunami came to the view and answered. Hello Natsumi-san. No, they have not returned, but I'm sure they are able to take care of themselves so there's no need to worry, right? She asked smiling at Natsumi who nodded. You should eat. Please sit, I will be back soon with your food. Natsumi smiled and was about to thank her when stomach interrupted with loud rumbling sound. Ah. That would be nice. Thank you she said blushing awkwardly scratching the back of her head. She sat down and Kakashi decided to speak up. We followed their trail to the port, but it disappeared there. We looked around, but we haven't found them. Well I'm sure that Naruto could get away from them and I'm not really worried about him, even if someone like Zabuza intercepted him he'd be fine, but what about Naru-chan? I hope they are together. Naruto looked like he could use someone to talk to. Thought Natsumi before speaking out loud. Their trail? Were they together? Kakashi then proceeded to do the impossible and even with just his one lone one visible he managed to pull off a contemplative look. Meanwhile Tsunami brought Natsumi's food. The girl gave a silent thank you, before turning her attention back to Kakashi. Thinking for a few seconds he said we don't know if they were together, but their trails disappeared in the same place, so I assumed that Naruko managed to catch up to him. Natsumi nodded in understanding manner. Well Zabuza is incapacitated and as long as they don't do anything stupid they should be fine, she said turn her attention to the food in front of her. Itadakimasu, she said before she started eating. After dinner, Natsumi-san called out a voice as the redhead turned around to see Kakashi. How is Kushina-sama doing? I heard today took a lot out of her. He asked. She's fine, just sleeping. Answered Natsumi smiling. Kakashi was her father's student and longtime friend of both her parents so normally she wouldn't have problem with telling him the truth, but she still wanted to wait for Naruto who could possibly deal with the seal and if Kakashi learned that he would question Naruto. She made a promise that she wouldn't reveal Naruto's powers and if Naruto was capable of dealing with the seal this would be the same as revealing them. It would only bring more questions and Naruto already had enough of those at home where both Kushina and Minato kept pestering Naruto about his skills and where did he learn them. Sure she could wait till they got back home. She was almost sure Minato could deal with the seal, but she really wanted to rid her mother of that seal as soon as possible and she was sure her family would agree with her on that one. Natsumi and Kakashi then talked about small things for a while until Kakashi decided that it was getting late they should go to sleep. I basically slept though the whole day. I won't be able to fall asleep. I think I'm going to train since I missed today's training. Seeing the look on Kakashi's face she continued. Don't worry, I will be fine, and I won't be long. Johnny, she said walking away, making Kakashi sigh and walk to his room. Later, Natsumi was walking through the forest going to the training spot where she was training last week. When she arrived she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened them they were burning with determination as she brought her hands to the familiar cross-like position. Let's see if this method is worth it. She thought. Tajuu Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, she said as 50 clones sprouted to existence. Alright, 10 of you will do the tree climbing exercise. 10 of you will do the water walking exercise and the rest is with me. I've been trying to learn Tosama's Rasengan for almost half a year now and today is the day I will finally learn it, she said and all of the clones cheered before going to their respective tasks. All except one. Hey boss, I don't get it. We already know tree climbing and water walking so wouldn't it be better if we all focused on learning Rasengan? Asked the clone with confused expression. We may have learned those two things, but we haven't mastered them. Even so, it would still help with our chakra control, which we will need to perform Rasengan. Besides Kachan said that our chakra would grow slowly during exercises. Explained Natsumi however she was surprised as during her explanation the clone's expression changed from confused to understanding to amazed and Natsumi could swear she saw little stars in the clone's eyes. Wow! Boss you're so smart. You really thought this training through haven't you? The clone said enthusiastically before the clone Natsumi saluted her and ran towards the water to train yelling you can count on me. I won't let you down. The original Natsumi merely stood there sweat dropping. Did I do something wrong when performing the jutsu? She thought as she looked at the overly enthusiastic clone. She was looking for a while when she noticed that while all of the clones could walk on the water, sometimes their control slipped and one of their feet went underwater before they regained control. This happened to all of the clones. All except one. She looked on as the enthusiastic clone literally ran on the water, laughing all the while for some unknown reason. Natsumi resisted the urge to facepalm when the same clone placed her hands on the water and started using her hands instead of feet to walk on the water. Well, I guess she will be helpful even though she is crazy. I hope I will only get her memories and experience from her. I don't want to be crazy like her. And with that she went to train. Break. Arg. This is getting ridiculous. She thought as another balloon popped in her hand. She fell down on her rear when she felt a wave of exhaustion. She knew what it was. Another clone puffed out of existence. From the original 30 that has been training with here was only 15 left. They were simply too exhausted to continue, so they puffed out and thus transferring their exhaustion to the original. Clones that were water walking and tree climbing all puffed away few hours ago. All except one. The crazy one, as Natsumi came to call her, was actually very useful and dare she say it the best clone she ever made. If she ignored the fact that crazy was, well, crazy. Crazy may have been a little overboard. More like overly eccentric. After becoming a lone clone doing water exercise, Crazy decided to help directly and started working on Rasengan herself. After resting for a few minutes, Natsumi stood up and went back to work. She was close. She knew it. She wouldn't give up. Not now. The legendary Uzumaki's stamina coming to play as she continued. Where others would be unable to move hours ago, Natsumi was still standing, although her eyes were red with slit and she had fangs, indicating the slight use of Kyuubi chakra. She grabbed another balloon when she heard a shout of "I did it." When Natsumi looked up, she saw none other than Crazy, with huge grin and Rasengan in her hand. "See, boss? I told you I wouldn't let you down. But I am very exhausted now, so I have to go." "Johnny," said the overly enthusiastic redhead before she too disappeared with puff of smoke. And with that, Natsumi fell on her knees, another wave of exhaustion going through her. Even so, she grinned when she felt the clone's experience. She may have been crazy, but she soaked stuff up like she was a freaking sponge. When she stood up, she noticed that some of her clone were on their knees too, while Athera were leaning on nearby trees. "Alright everyone, since you obviously got Crazy's experience, I want to see you perform Rasengan." Clones merely nodded and extended their hand. Most of the clones managed to do Rasengan, but few failed as they were too exhausted and just puffed away. Natsumi once again fell to down, this time backwards against tree. She made herself comfortable since the rest of the clones was about to be dispelled too. She could at least stay down. Mission accomplished. You can dispel. She got a chorus of "Hi boss." Before the clones puffed away and Natsumi was left alone. She just sat there for a few minutes grinning stupidly before it hit her. "I've been here too long. I need to get back and get some rest. I need to be ready for tomorrow." And with that, Natsumi forced herself to stand up and walk. Break. Two figures stood on the shore of an island looking over the calm water surrounding them. The shorter of the two looked about 16 years old, with red hair reaching its lower back, a beautiful face revealing the person to be a female. Other than that, the only thing visible was a dark red cloak with black Kozushio sign on the back. The taller of the two had short blonde hair, sky blue eyes, 3 whisker marks on each cheek. With just one look on his face, it was clear he was male. In his hand he held what looked like same cloak that person beside him wore. His clothing consisted of black top and pants with blood red lines running down their sides. He also wore a grey haori with blood red kanji for transgression or in. Behind the two, unbeknownst to both of them, stood a shadow, silently watching the interaction between brother and sister. "So, looking forward to coming back, Imoto-chan?" he said with grin as he donned the cloak in his hand and threw the hood on. "You know it, Nikun. I can't wait to go back and kick some ass. That, and I miss To-chan, Ka-chan and Natsumi-chan, so I really want to see them," she said grinning as she threw her hood on. And with that, the redhead and blonde shot forward with great speed. The shadow stood there watching them calmly. "You are not ready yet. Soon. Soon you will learn the truth," it said as it disappeared. As the two continued running, behind them the whirlpools around the island suddenly appeared again, as if protecting the island from any unwanted guests. Break. Team 11 and half of Team 7 were all on the bridge. Today was the day. Suddenly fog appeared out of nowhere and footsteps could be heard. Then as quickly as it came, the fog disappeared and Zabuza along with the hunter nin that saved him could be seen trotting on the bridge. Zabuza wore a sleeveless black shirt and matching pants, complete with the waist guard, and yet again, Kirigakura's striped wrist and leg warmers. Other swordsmen of his generation wore attire identical to this, implying that they might be close related to the group. While donning this attire, much like his fellow swordsmen, he had bandages loosely tied around his neck like a scarf. The hunter nin is wearing her usual attire, complete with mask covering her face. Two groups of ninja were staring at each other blankly. The tense atmosphere in the air could be easily felt by everyone on the bridge, Even though most workers already left, some of them were still running. Dazuna stood behind members of Team 11 hoping that everything will be fine. After what seemed to be hours of silence, but were merely seconds, Kakashi spoke up, sliding his forehead protector up from his eye at the same time, revealing a Sharingan. "Surrender, Zabuza. You are outnumbered," he said with finality in his voice. Unseen to everyone else, Zabuza grinned a shark-like grin under the bandages that were on his face and said, "Numbers don't mean anything to enemy who can't be seen. Sharingan no Kakashi. Ninpa, Kirigakure no Jutsu." Immediately, thick mist came out of nowhere, reducing even Kakashi's visibility to minimal. Such a thick mist. What is he planning? Even he won't be able to see like this, thought Kakashi, but as soon as he thought this, Kushina's voice rung out. "Don't be fooled. He doesn't need his eyes to know where we are. After all, he is the master of the silent killing technique. I made the same mistake, and if it wasn't for Naruto, Dazuna would be already dead," she said. While she was talking, the signature puff sound could be heard, revealing that something was just unsealed. Nobody, except Kushina, couldn't tell what it was since the fog was too thick and Kushina was the one who unsealed it. "Natsumi, Sasuke, Sakura, Sai," she spoke again after short pause. "Protect Tazuna. Don't forget about the hunter Nin." At this, Zabuza's amused voice sounded out. And what exactly makes you think that Haku is still with me?" "It doesn't really matter, does it? We are supposed to protect the old man, and if she wants to kill him she has to come to us," spoke Natsumi. Zabuza had to admit that the girl had a point, but as long as they stayed in the mist, Haku would have the advantage. After all, he taught the girl. The mist had little to no effect on her. "That's true. And she will come when the time is right. You don't stand a chance against her." Suddenly a sound of swords clashing could be heard, and soon after Kakashi's voice, "You should pay more attention to your own opponents, Zabuza-san," he said, and Zabuza smirked. "I did not forget about you for even 1 second, he stated as his leg lashed out, attempting to kick Kakashi, but Nin merely jumped back. At the same time, Zabuza spun around holding his Kubi Karabocho above his head, slashing downwards. Once again Kakashi jumped back, this time making sure to put a distance between himself and Zabuza. "That man is a master swordsman and I only have kunai, plus he has monstrous strength. Not to mention this mist. I really need to be careful," thought the Sharingan wielder. Another clang could be heard as Zabuza's and Kushina's swords hit each other. "I haven't forgotten about you either, Red Death." Kushina smirked a little at that. "Then you probably remember these as well," she said as chains erupted from her back and went for Zabuza. Zabuza, however, just calmly jumped away. Hiding in the thick mist, he went trough hand seals. "Suten, Suryudan no Jutsu." Kushina instantly jumped away, the water dragon hitting the spot she stood on shortly after. Chains erupted from Kushina as she sent them in general direction technique came from, however she sighed in annoyance when she found nothing. "Our first plan didn't work. It took me little bit too long till I found him in this mist and Kakashi was forced to retreat. This mist is a real pain in the ass," she thought, but even so she could feel grin forming on her face. "This is going to be fun." Break. Dazuna stood in the middle of Sasuke, Sai, Sakura, and Natsumi. Each of them stood facing different direction to make sure attack won't come from behind like last time. The atmosphere was very tense as they stood in silence, ready for battle. Natsumi noticed that her vision was getting better. "What is going on? Is the mist receding?" She was about to question what was going on when she heard a low whistle closing in from her side. She quickly deflected a senbon that was directed at her and saw Haku running at her with impressive speed. Natsumi was ready to enter a taijutsu battle when Sasuke appeared in front of her, blocking Puck that Haku threw. He tried kicking her, but she dodged and instead she kicked him, sending him skidding back, taking Natsumi with him. Haku didn't waste any time as she quickly formed hand signs and called out her jutsu. Hyotan Haijutsu, Makyo Hyoshu. She noticed that the pink-haired girl and pale boy only realized what happened behind them by the time she sent the redhead and the arrogant kid to the ground, so she thought that the best course of action would be trapping them inside her strongest jutsu and kill the old man right away. That way there would be no reason for her and Zabuza to engage in battle with Konoha Shinobi anymore, and they could simply flee from the battle. That way less blood would be spilled. However, it did not go that way, because as the mirrors finished forming and she was almost completely within the mirror, she saw the pale kid grab the pink-haired girl and the bridge builder and Sunshine outside. Seeing this, Haku frowned for 2 reasons. First, it meant she would have to kill 2 more people. She did not like to fight and she did not like to kill. But if they refused to give up, she would do it. She would kill them. For Zabuza and his dream. Second reason was the pale kid. At first she thought that he was weak just like the pink-haired girl, but then he used Sunshine. Genin weren't supposed to know such technique. The look on Sakura's face was that of a surprise. which told her that she wasn't aware that Sai was capable of that. She also noticed the protective posture that Sai took in front of Tazuna. He was going to do anything to accomplish his mission. Outside of the ice dome, "Sai, what are you doing?" asked Sakura. Loudly. "Protecting Tazuna-san," he answered, not even looking at her. "But we need to help them." "Sasuke-kun ni no," Sai said sternly, yet still without a bit of emotion, interrupting her. "Our mission is to protect Tazuna-san. We are not here to fight, so unless it is completely necessary we will stay out of combat," Sai said. Sakura knew that he was right, but tried once more. "But if we all fight Haku, then it will be easier to defeat her. And Tazuna-san will be safe, since Zabuzai is busy with Kakashi-sensei and Kushina-sama," she argued. This time Sai looked at her and with his usual monotone replied, "As we already know, from the report that Kushina-sama gave us when we arrived, Momochi Zabuza managed to slip past her and almost kill Tazuna-san. Who's to say it won't happen again?" Sakura hearing this sighed and complied, knowing that he was right. Meanwhile, not so far, Nami no Kuni, Naruto and Naruto were walking towards Tazuna's inn, when they felt various chakra signatures. Since they recognized most of them and felt that they were coming from the bridge, they deduced the battle already started, and so now they were tree-jumping towards the bridge at steady pace. "Anko-chan will be happy when she learns the good news," Naruto stated with grin. Naruto smiled at her brother. During the year she spent with him she learned a lot about him. She knew that Anko was his first friend besides Ayame, and she was more of a sister figure than friend, or at least she used to be, before they entered a relationship. Although she took the notice of how he still referred to her as Ayame-nichan, and when she asked him about it, he told her that Ayame herself told him to call her that. Prior to her arrival to Uzushigakure she would have found that weird, but during the time she figured she liked her brother as more than just a brother, and eventually she fell in love. She even managed to admit it to herself pretty quickly, and when she did, she didn't hesitate with telling him the truth. 3 months after the start of her training, she and Naruto were already together, and she spent a lot of time learning and asking about her harem sisters. Realizing her thoughts started running rampant, she started remembering about Anko. During their stay at Ozushio, she noticed that Naruto trained just as much as her. Both of them were learning Fuinjutsu, but Naruto's progress was clearly faster. Even though at the beginning Naruto was ahead of her, she quickly caught up with Naruto and surpassed him. Naruto apparently noticed this, because one day he came to her asking for help with a certain Junjutsu. She was genuinely surprised by this, because she thought that Naruto was already a level 10 Seal Master. Even so, while on Uzumaki's scale level 10 meant Seal Master, there were still additional 5 levels. So in total there were 15 levels. Uzumaki made it that way because even level 10 Seal Master would be hard-pressed to understand even the basics of level 11. Those additional 5 levels were for the elites of the Uzumaki clan. The best of the best. In the past only 2 people reached level 15 and mastered it, and according to those stories, one of those 2 people made the Uzumaki time house. Or more specifically the seals that covered the entire house. Naruto herself reached level 12, and as such she is a lot better in terms of Fuinjutsu than Naruto. So she found it reasonable that he would come to ask her to help him, but she still thought that it must be one hell of a cursed seal if he was actually asking for her help. Later, it turned out that Naruto managed to figure out how to remove the cursed seal of heaven himself, but he wanted a superior seal master to check if he made any mistakes. Of course, Naruto had to explain the situation with Anko before he showed Naruto his progress, and he knew that Anko would probably be angry at him, but he thought it was better than him doing some mistake and Anko ending up paying for his mistake, even if she ended up hating him for it, since in a way he betrayed her trust. He would happily remove the seal so that she could leave that part of her life behind her. After all, the cursed seal of heaven contained part of Orochimaru's soul, and if anything went wrong, Anko could theoretically end up as nothing more than his puppet. "I want to be there when you remove that thing," Naruto said suddenly, surprising Naruto. He looked at his sister oddly for a few seconds before he asked, "Why?" Naruto smiled once again. Out of the corner of her eyes she noticed various cuts on the trees. "Well, if I say that I helped with her problem, she might not kill me, and I want to get to know her," she answered with grin. She stopped on one of the branches and turned to Naruto. "Those cuts are suspicious, Ni-kun. One of us should check it out. It looks like they are heading towards Tazuna's inn," she said, pointing at the trees. Naruto nodded and turned around facing the way they came from. "I'll go. Don't reveal your eyes or Zanpakuto." Naruto nodded and Naruto started jumping towards Tazuna's inn. She sighed as he left and she started jumping from tree to tree towards the bridge, where the chakra spikes came from. She knew very well not to reveal her eyes. If the village found out that she had Sharingan, it wouldn't be good. It would cause quite the uproar that a child that supposedly came from Namikaze and Uzumaki possessed the Uchiha bloodline. She remembered when Naruto told her during her training that it's possible for her to awaken Sharingan. After all, when Kyuubi unlocked his bloodlines, she thought she was only unlocking the Shinnomi. She thought that Naruto would only have one Dojutsu. Sure, the Shinnomi had all the abilities of EMS, Rinnegan plus few abilities special to Shinnomi only. So Naruto would still have exactly same power and skills. Only difference would be that if he wanted to use ability of normal Sharingan, he would have to reveal his Shinnomi. He would not be able to activate Sharingan, simply because he wouldn't have it. But since Naruto had the genes which would eventually awaken Sharingan and later on Rinnegan, all three Dojutsus activated at the same time, and since Naruto already had Shinnomi, his Sharingan forcefully evolved into EMS. That's why he could only activate Sharingan or Rinnegan if he wanted to. Because even without Kurami's intervention, there was a high possibility that he would eventually gain those eyes. Kurami's chakra and influence merely sped up the process. As such, it would be logical to assume that Naruto and Natsumi could both not only awaken Sharingan but also a Rinnegan. They were triplets after all. However, Naruto said that it was not only highly improbable but also nigh impossible, and that he simply couldn't believe that the rarest bloodline in the shinobi world would suddenly start appearing just like that. Spoil sport. She shook her head. Reaching into her cloak, she took out a sealing tag. She looked at it and noticed that there was kanji for henge/transformation on the tag. She smiled as she looked at the tag before she rolled up her sleeves and placed the sealing tag on her arm. She sent a little bit of chakra into it and it glowed faintly. She hid the sealing tag back in her cloak. She looked at her arm and once again she saw a kanji for henge, before it disappeared as if it was never there. It was the seal Naruto created. Naruto noted that during their 1-year stay in the time house, their appearance would change. So Naruto came up with the seal that would deal with it for them. She didn't really know why she used it since she knew Naruto wouldn't. He didn't care whether people noticed that his appearance changed. Its function was exactly same as her godmother's. Tsunade's special henge that could not be broken unless she was completely out of chakra. The difference was that one didn't need good chakra control, because the seal would take care of everything. All the user needed was good imagination and little bit of chakra. She made a mental note to remember to thank her. She was quite surprised when she realized that no one thought of such a thing. Creating such a seal wouldn't be hard. One didn't need to be Uzumaki to make such seal. It would be fairly easy for anyone who knew thing or two about seals to make something like that. Sure, many people underestimated Fuinjutsu and didn't take interest in it, but there were still a lot of people that learned Fuinjutsu. Both her mother and father should be able to easily do something like that. Her godfather Jiraiya as well. In a way she was glad. Being able to have an unbreakable henge would make infiltration a lot easier. In Konoha it wouldn't work that well, because of the Uchiha and Hyuga clans. Her brother confirmed that both Rinnegan and Sharingan would see through the illusion. They couldn't test it with Byakugan, but Naruto was fairly sure that it would see through the henge as well. Although with the Uchiha clan gone it would be little easier. It's not like Hyuga keep their Dojutsu active all the time. And with that she continued on her path towards the bridge. Back on the bridge, with Haku, Sasuke and Natsumi were in the middle of the dome, both of them trying to figure out how to get out of this situation. Both of them had a feeling that it won't be easy. The feeling multiplied when Haku rose, her hand holding senbon needles, and the reflections in the mirrors moved alongside her. Which one is real? Thought Natsumi, trying to figure out where the senbon would come from. She saw Sasuke tensed as he got ready, just like herself he held a kunai in his hand. Get ready. She's coming, he said. I know. Holding the kunai tightly she looked around the dome waiting for the attack. Haku was calmly watching her opponents. Both of you seem to be strong. You have the resolve and reason to fight. With your reason, your resolve won't waver. However, Haku thought as she clenched the senbon in her hand, it will not be enough this time. Natsumi's eyes flew wide open as she saw the speed senbon flew at her. That however was not the only reason her eyes resembled dinner plates in size. When she saw Haku perform the jutsu she was currently trapped in, she thought that there would only be one Haku and the reflections would serve as not only a distraction, but also as some kind of teleportation markers, so that Haku would be able to instantly jump from mirror to mirror. She certainly did not think the senbon would come flying from every direction. She barely had time to jump away, using her kunai to protect herself from the unreal amounts of senbon. Even so she felt something sharp piercing her skin on multiple places. When she looked at Sasuke she could see that he was in the same situation as her. She prepared herself as she saw Haku was about to cause the senbon rain again. She, along with Sasuke, dodged and deflected as many as they could, and the moment her feet touched the ground she could hear Sasuke calling out a jutsu. Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu. As the fireball made its way to the mirrors, she saw the reflections in other mirrors disappear as Haku appeared in front of her in blur. Fast. She thought as she brought her hands up in order to protect herself from the kick that she knew was coming. And as she predicted, it came. The force of the kick was strong enough to make her take few steps back, but the moments Haku's leg touched Natsumi, she started channeling her chakra and chains exploded from her back. However, Haku once again disappeared with blur. She made her way to the mirror and entered it. The chains that was chasing her hit the mirror and bounced back harmlessly. Seeing this, Natsumi frowned and let the chain dissipate. My chains are still slow and weak when compared to Ka-chan's. So that means that I will have to use the jutsu. But with speed like that I won't be able to get near her. I have my shadow clones and Sasuke is here as well. We have to come up with something and it has to be done quickly, otherwise we are just playing target practice with her. Her frown deepened when she saw that reflections started appearing in the mirrors again. So many scene bonds being thrown at you all at once is quite overwhelming. Now that I think about it, it's the same with clones. In such a small place, 50 clones should be more than enough to keep her off of me for at least couple of seconds. With that I should be able to slip outside of the dome. Since Sasuke melted one of the mirrors, it should not be that hard to pass, and once I'm outside this battle will be a lot easier if we attack from both sides. Jutsu of such level will not have any effect my eyes, Haku stated calmly. Both Sasuke's and Natsumi's eyes twitched when they saw a mirror that should have melted looking the same as before, as if the fireball never hit it. Natsumi's eyes twitched because her plan was ruined. She presumed that Sasuke made his own plan, but that plan was stopped by the ice user as well. She was correct. Sasuke's plan was same as Natsumi's. Get outside and attack from both fronts. If I can get close to one of her mirrors, I'm certain I can break the ice and get outside, Natsumi said. Sasuke nodded his head. You need distraction, he said, already knowing what she wanted. Pretty much. I can use my clones, but they will dispel after hit once. With her speed that won't be enough. I've got a plan. Sasuke answered. He tightened his hold on his kunai, Natsumi doing the same as Haku threw her senbon. Once again, they dodged and blocked as many of the senbon needles as they could, ending with their backs pressed up against each other. Spill it, Natsumi hissed, those needles were really getting annoying. Sasuke smirked. Just do the shadow clones thing, but make user one of those clones is hedged into me. That's all it took for Natsumi to form a hand sign. Tajuu Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In an explosion of smoke 50 clones appeared and immediately starting running. Haku seeing this didn't waste any time and started throwing senbon at them, causing them to puff out of existence. Seeing another clone running her direction, she gripped her senbon and threw it at clone, which crossed its hand in front of its face to protect itself, causing another puff of smoke. However, her eyes widened when Sasuke emerged from the smoke not a second later, going through hand signs at very impressive speed before calling out his jutsu. Kaden, Kuruenden. Haku was impressed. The jutsu wouldn't be able to harm her mirrors, but if the jutsu hit the mirror and she or one of her reflections were in the said mirror, she would get burned. She wondered if they have figured it out when the boy first threw fire jutsu at her and this was just a way to get her out of the mirrors, or if they were planning something else entirely. She briefly thought about simply cancelling her reflections and moving to different mirror, but Sasuke was too close. If she simply changed location, she wouldn't be able to stop him from getting out from the dome. With that in mind, she got out of mirror and in a burst of speed she appeared in front of him. Sasuke seeing this simply smirked and crossed his hands in front of his face again in order to protect himself from the kick he knew would be coming. Haku seeing this, knew she somehow played right into her opponent's cards. Nevertheless, her right leg lashed out, sending Sasuke back to the middle of the dome. Haku's eyes widened when Natsumi appeared in front of her. But that wasn't why she was surprised, after all she was expecting this. What she didn't expect was the swirling chakra ball in her right hand. Just one look told her that she really didn't want to be hit with that jutsu. Rasengan, Natsumi shouted, hoping to hit her opponent. Haku, using her superior speed, barely avoided chakra ball. Natsumi was not surprised that she missed. In fact, not only was she not surprised, she was expecting it. The Hunter-nin speed was way above her own. While she would prefer hitting Haku and ending the fight that way, she knew it was almost impossible. Her real target was the mirror behind Haku. So when Haku dodged, Natsumi went past Haku and for the mirror. Hitting the mirror, she smirked when she saw cracks, before the ice shattered. Her smirk grew and she instantly bolted forward, trying to escape the dome. Her smirk disappeared when she felt something on her ankle. You're not going anywhere, Haku said before gripping the Jinchuriki's ankle and throwing her towards Sasuke, who by this time was on his feet, going no hand seals, hoping to distract the ice user. Seeing Natsumi flying towards him, He quickly stopped the jutsu and extended his hands, trying to catch her. Seeing Natsumi successfully crashing into Sasuke, Haku didn't waste any time, immediately making a hand seal and pumping her chakra. Behind her, where the recently broken mirror once stood, a new mirror slowly came into existence. "I don't have much chakra left, I have to finish this battle quickly," thought the hunter Nin re-entering a mirror. "That is quite a dangerous jutsu you've got there," she stated. Sasuke and Natsumi were not happy. It was quite obvious due to the frown on their faces. Sasuke's frown was quickly replaced by smirk though. "She is slowing down. At the beginning of the fight I was barely able to see her, but now." Natsumi nodded her head, agreeing. "With the Uchiha. I know. She barely managed to dodge my Rasengan. At the same time, both of us are worn out as well. We need to come up with a plan and we need to do it fast, otherwise we are dead." While the Uchiha agreed with her, he did not have enough time to voice this because Haku started throwing her senbon needles, forcing both him and Natsumi to separate in order to avoid the needles. The moment Natsumi's feet touched the ground she was forced to dodge another wave of senbon needles. Even so she could feel a sting on her back, indicating she was hit by a senbon. She grit her teeth in annoyance, irritation and slight pain. "These needles are becoming annoying. It seems she is getting serious," she thought, absently dodging yet another wave of senbon, noting how this time they came quicker and were aimed at places that would cause more than just slight irritating sting or a bit of pain. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed how Sasuke had a considerably less amount of senbon needles in him. Just few seconds ago, both her and Sasuke had about equal amount of senbon in them, but now she had quite a few more needles piercing her skin. Those needles were really annoying. "With the amount of senbon she throws at us, it's almost impossible to protect ourselves from all of them," she thought. Normally she would be happy that Sasuke had less senbon piercing his skin since he was her comrade and she didn't like seeing her comrades hurt, but those needles really irritated her. There was no way he just suddenly got so much better. And so, after dodging another wave of the senbon needles, she yelled at Sasuke. "Team, how are you dodging these things?" If it wasn't for the constant need to dodge the barrage of needles, she would even stomp her feet like a child. Probably. Maybe. Maybe not. Haku, hearing the question, decided to stop her onslaught for the moment. She did notice that not a single senbon managed to hit Sasuke after Natsumi collided with him. And it was not because she was not trying. He has somehow gotten a lot better at dodging her senbon, and those that he couldn't dodge, he simply deflected. She was curious why that was, so she stopped her attack and waited for the boy to speak. "You're just pissed off that I am better than you," Sasuke answered, and Natsumi could basically see the grin on his face even though he had his back turned on her. He ignored her "yeah, right" comment as he turned around. "Uchiha see all," he said, one Moe in his newly awakened Sharingan spinning hypnotically. Natsumi's sweat dropped at the comment. "Ha! I knew it. You still suck," she exclaimed. She could get over his bloodline awakening. That was fine, without it he would be pincushion as well, so it was not that she lagged behind or that Sasuke has gotten any better, his bloodline awakened. She could deal with a sudden power-up. Now it was Sasuke's turn to sweat drop at the Konoha princess. "Now is not really the ideal time for this," he said offhandedly, his eyes trained on the mirrors, ready to dodge another batch of senbon needles. Before she could throw that, she heard a voice. Interesting. It was a female voice. One that Natsumi instantly recognized and Sasuke found familiar. "Naru-chan. But where is she?" thought Natsumi, happy that her sister was back and that she came to help since both Natsumi and Sasuke were out of ideas and energy. Of course she still had the Kyuubi chakra, but since it drained her life force, that was an absolute last trump card, only used in life and death situations, and while this was bad, Natsumi was nowhere near desperate enough to go that far yet. And the same time she was worried for Naruto, wondering if he was with Naruto. Next moment a cloaked person appeared in the middle of the dome, where Natsumi and Sasuke were, causing both of them to tense at the sudden arrival, but Naruto relaxed when she heard the cloaked person speak. "But this fight is over," Naruto said. They noticed more of these cloaked figures were outside, around of the dome, and were running towards them. They figured they were clones and they saw them holding a seal and that they had a slight glow around them. The show of amazing speed. It only took one moment before they arrived to the dome. They stopped between the mirrors, each clone in different gap between the mirrors, and the glow around them intensified. Seeing this, chain sprouted from the original Naruto that was in the middle of the dome, wrapped around Natsumi's and Sasuke's legs and yanked, causing them to fall on the ground. "Get down," was the only thing she said, before she threw herself on the ground. Bunshin Daibaku and that the clones exploded, and just like with Rasengan, the mirrors only lasted a tiny moment before they shattered like glass. In the middle of the dome, Natsumi and Sasuke watched the spectacle with wide eyes, their minds just catching up to what was happening. Haku, who was now flying through the air because of the shockwave, had her eyes opened wide underneath the mask. She absently noticed that there was a huge crack on her mask as her back hit the railing, causing a painful groan to escape from her lips. Having more experience than her two opponents, she connected the dots sooner, but she was still too late to do anything to stop the newly arrived stranger. When the explosions died down, Naruto stood up, her hood still on, her cloak swishing in the wind behind her. She looked down at Natsumi and Sasuke. Small smile crossed her lips seeing her sister looking at her with wide eyes. What a shame she did not have a camera on her. "Need any help?" she asked. Before she even knew what was happening, she was on the floor with Natsumi on top of her, hugging her. "Naru-chan. I am so glad you're all right. Where is Naruto? Is he all right? Is he with you? And what the heck was that? How come I didn't know you could do something like that? Why didn't you tell me? And what is with that speed? And also OWW. What the hell?" She stopped rambling after Naruto hit her on the head while rubbing the spot on her head and glaring at her sister. Meanwhile, Naruto just looked at her sister. Amused expression would be seen on her face if it wasn't for the hood that shadowed the top half of her face. "You asked way too many questions at once. We can talk about what just happened later. Right now I'll tell you that Nikun is fine and that he is at the inn," she said cheerfully, wrapping her arms around Natsumi, hugging her. She really missed her family during that 1 year. Especially Natsumi, since the two spend most of their time together. Meanwhile, Sasuke was looking at the cloaked person. The Tomoe in his Sharingan spun as observed the person. Not only he could see that there was an illusion around that person, he could clearly see what was beneath the illusion. What he saw was definitely Naruto. He could tell that much. Another thing that supported this was the monstrous chakra the person had. Iconic Uzumaki thing, but thing that confused him was that this Naruto looked older. Also, the speed and skills of this older Naruto were way better than the Naruto he knew. He never really talked to Natsumi or Naruto when they were at academy. Well, he never really talked to anyone there. But he knew both of them were skilled. However, he knew they weren't this skilled. Yet at the same time he knew he was looking at Naruto. Naruto he knew, yet she seemed different. What the hell happened yesterday? He thought. Hearing someone coughing, his head snapped in the direction cough came from. Seeing Haku standing, without her mask, little bit of blood dripping from her mouth, he observed her. She was in no shape to fight. "I suppose I can deal with this hench crap once this is over," he thought with sigh before speaking. "Hey, guys. I don't mean to ruin your moment. But she's still alive," he said, causing Natsumi and Naruto to realize that yes, there is in fact still an enemy to deal with. Standing up, they stood beside Sasuke, looking at Hunter Nin. "Give up, enemy-san. You cannot win," said Naruto, removing the hood and revealing her face. "You are in no condition to be fighting right now. Surrender." Haku observed the newcomer. Unlike the other two, this one radiated power and confidence. I am broken," Haku stated. "I've lost. I'm no longer useful to Zabuza-sama. Kill me." Before anyone could respond to that, all of them heard high chirping sound. The mist started receding slowly, revealing Zabuza, who was bound by Kushina's chains, who was standing behind him. He had quite a deep cut on his abdomen and along his right arm. Kushina's blade was dripping with blood. Zabuza's blood. Opposite of Zabuza stood Kakashi, his left arm steadying his right one. From his right hand came bright blue light. Around the light could be seen lightning, just dancing around it. Looking at the jutsu, they realized that this is where the chirping sound came from. "Never mind. Change of plans," Haku said. Kakashi shot forward intending to pierce Zabuza with his Reikiri. However, before he could get to him, mirror started forming just in front of Zabuza. Ice mirror to be exact. Shocked at this, Kakashi just watched with wide eyes as young girl emerged from the mirror, knowing it was too late and that he couldn't stop it anymore. Squelch. Kakashi just watched as in the matter of seconds life was drained from eyes of the young girl. With guilt slowly building, he extracted his hand and slowly put Haku on the ground. Looking up, he could see tears streaming down Zabuza's face. Behind him, Kushina released Zabuza from the chains that were holding him. He fell down on the floor looking straight at the person he considered daughter. Haku. Sudden clapping brought everyone sans Zabuza out of the trance they were in. Kakashi, so shocked that he didn't sense anything behind him, immediately shunshin towards Kushina. Looking on the other end of the bridge, they saw thugs. Lot of them. In the front stood little midget in the suit still clapping his hands. "So this is the demon of the mist I've been hearing about? Defeated so easily? At the very least I must say that you amused me, but you failed your job and thus you don't get any money," Gato said. It was as if he didn't even notice that Zabuza did not register a single word Gato said, his attention still on his daughter, as he continued walking forward. Stopping in front of Haku's dead body, he looked at her with frown. "But don't worry about it, I was not planning on giving you any money anyway. You ninja trash are way too overpriced." Preparing to kick Haku, this time his face showing hatred, he continued. "This is for my broken wrist, you stupid bitch." Kicking with his full force, he blinked when he saw a child with the same cloak as Naruto, however this person was not wearing the hood. He had blonde hair and he was crouching on the ground next to Haku's body, his right arm effortlessly holding his leg from reaching Haku. Gato, or anyone else for that matter, couldn't see his face, but Team 7 knew this was Naruto. Gato didn't even have a chance to blink before he was punched in the face, ending all the way back with his thugs. Naruto made sure to hold back with that one. He recently found out few new tricks his Shin no Mi could do, and Gato would make great test subject. There were also other abilities he learned that he wanted to try. Ninshu, for example. He tried it with Naruto before, but this was different. He couldn't hope to understand people like Gato. And Ninshu could help with that. He was merely curious about thought process of this sick person. Another example would be the Kekkei Genkai. Somewhere in the humongous amount of scrolls found in Uzushio Gakuer, there were a couple of scrolls on Kekkei Genkai that were most likely stolen. In this case, couple literally meaning two. Shoten, crystal release, and Yotan, lava release. Naruto, despite mastering a lot of jutsu, was never someone that thought that with more jutsu ninja learns the stronger he becomes. However, having one or two jutsu of each element could prove useful. Even though Yotan did not interest him, he did take his time and learn few jutsus from the scroll. Shoten, however, intrigued him. It had great defensive potential. Unlike with Yotan, he was quite eager to learn some Shoten techniques, and that's exactly what he did. He also wanted to learn the legendary Makuten, wood release, that Shodai Hokage was able to wield. Such thing would happen long ago, but he couldn't find any scrolls or anything. He could learn from watching, listening to explanation or reading, but without anything to go on it was simply impossible. Q-chan taught him chakra control. What little Kido, way of demon arts, he knew, was taught to him by his Zanpakutos. He learned jutsu from either watching others or going to library, however there was not a single Kekkei Genkai jutsu he found in library. Sure, there were few records describing a lot of them, but nothing solid to go on. It was understandable that clans wanted to keep their Kekkei Genkai as unknowns. However, during his time on the island of the Uzumaki clan, a devious idea came into his head. Why not simply sneak in and take it? That's how he learned about Rinnegan and Sharingan. He sneaked in his parents' jutsu library to learn Rasengan. Naruto told him that she and Natsumi sneaked in as well because they wanted to surprise their parents by learning Rasengan. Hell, back in the days, at times when he got locked out, he had to steal food to survive. It still amazed him that both Minato and Kushina didn't notice he was gone for days. Well, he didn't have to steal food. Ayame and Tucci would give it to him for free, he knew they would, but he didn't want to mooch off of them, knowing they were quite poor. Plus it's not like the people he stole from were some kinds of saints. Stealing and sneaking around was major part of his life. So why stop now that I am ninja? He thought. It was fast, easy and quiet way of getting what he wanted, and no one would know about it. That was also why it was such a good way of doing things. No one would know. Basically, upon his return to Konoha, Naruto planned to raid every single clan compound, copy the scrolls and leave. He also planned to sneak in the Hokage Tower. When he took the forbidden scroll of sealing, he saw countless other scrolls as well. Like I said, Naruto was not a jutsu-hungry person. But, you never know when one more jutsu could be useful. Even if it's just for the element of surprise. But first he had to deal with those thugs. That would be quite easy. In fact, this would make a great time for using his new jutsu for the first time, but first he had to make sure Gato was nowhere in the vicinity of the jutsu. It could be quite destructive and he didn't want to accidentally kill him. Not yet anyways. But how do I go about that? He thought. Well, calling the jutsu new is probably wrong. He finished the jutsu before leaving for Uzushio Gakuer, but in a way it was only one day. He could use one of the newly learned abilities of his Shin no Mi Matsuhira Saga, Gateway to the Underworld, but he needed to separate Gato from the rest without the use of his eyes. He didn't need anyone finding out about them now. You should not disrespect the dead, you know? He said out loud. Groaning in pain, blood coming from his nose, he looked at Naruto. Ugh, where did the brat even come from? He just appeared out of nowhere. Thought Gato. Unknown to him, everyone else except for Zabuza and Naruto thought the same thing. Naruto because already knew that Naruto can teleport to anything in his eyesight, and Zabuza because he simply didn't care. He was just thankful that the Naruto kid showed up when he did and stopped the midget. Growling slightly, he stood up and started walking forward. He stopped next to Naruto, looking at Gato with glare. "Kid, give me your kunai," he said. Blonde turned to Zabuza. Sending little bit of chakra towards the storage seal on his wrist, he gave Zabuza his kunai. He grabbed it with his left hand and aimed another glare at Gato. "You've disrespected my daughter. I will enjoy punishing you, Gato. For even thinking that, your punishment is death by the hand of a demon," Zabuza said with a bloodthirsty smirk on his face. Behind him a purple image of demon came to existence as Zabuza started slowly walking forward. Seeing this, Gato nearly crapped his pants as he started backing away. "Kill him. He's just one guy. Stop him or you won't get your payment," he said to his thugs in panic. Turning around, he quickly made his way through the group of thugs. Intending to hide behind the group, he waited. Gato didn't have to wait long as Zabuza came barreling through the people in his way. Exhausted, he continued forward, killing some of the idiots that got in his way. Others he just knocked unconscious or stabbed, not caring in the slightest. They were not his target. Whether they survived or not didn't matter to him. He grit his teeth in pain when someone behind him stabbed him with a spear. Detaching himself from the spear, he lashed out with kunai in his hand, slicing the man's throat open and continuing on his path. Seeing as he was near the end of the group, he pumped chakra into his feet, jumping over the last line of defense Gato had. Seeing terror on the midget's face only seemed to motivate him as he rushed at Gato, stabbing the man with the kunai. Smirk on Zabuza's face widened, knowing the man would die soon. "You know, Gato, I truly wish I could see Haku once more, but sadly even though I am going to die soon, I will not be reunited with Haku. You see, unlike you or me, she is going to heaven. But we are going to hell. For someone like me, such place is ideal. But for a midget like you." He started laughing maniacally even as he could feel himself dying slowly. Gato just stood there with wide eyes which were full of fear. He didn't want to die. Staring at this demon in front of him, he knew he was going to die. He could already feel himself losing the grip on reality. Zabuza, seeing that the bastard was still alive, snarled and stabbed him once again, this time straight through his heart. With that, Gato's body collapsed on the floor. It was official, Gato was dead. Seeing the bastard dead, Zabuza himself collapsed on the floor, not having any more strength to move. Back with the group, everybody was watching the scene. They had clear view on everything since the group of thugs made a corridor, afraid that if they stood in Zabuza's way, they would be next one to die. However, seeing as Zabuza was down and that he killed Gato, they had a problem. Since their employer was dead, there was on one who would pay them. Few of the more ambitious ones formed different plan, and they didn't keep silent about it either. "Hey! Listen up. Now that Gato is dead, we can take over. Look at the people standing in our way. Only people standing in our way. Rest of the people who live here are cowards. They wouldn't dare to oppose us. And these people? Most of them are exhausted, and those who aren't are just kids. Think about it. We get rid of them and then we can do whatever we want. Money, bitches. Anything," the man said. Seeing understanding cross across the faces of his companions, Naruto chuckled. Did they truly think that they could be overwhelmed with numbers? Also, for some reason, those thugs didn't seem to notice Kushina. Big mistake. Kushina was a dangerous individual. Even after fight with Zabuza, the only thing that would tell you that she was in fight was the dirt on her clothes and few scratches here and there. On the other hand, Kakashi seemed to be worn out, panting in exhaustion, and his injuries were worse. He assumed it was because Kushina was woman that the thugs didn't consider her a threat, but to him it didn't really matter. They will learn soon enough. They should just die. Kurami spoke calmly within his mind. Naruto chuckled at that. He knew it wasn't because they were bad people that Kurami said that. Kurami was a tailed beast of hatred. She said that because they were people. Negative emotions rolling of them only served to stir her hatred of humans. Of course, Naruto knew that Kurami wasn't just some mindless beast filled with hatred. He knew she loved him. He knew she liked her siblings, even though she would never show it. He also knew that she did not hate Jinchuriki unless they gave her a good reason to do so. He also knew that the reason she didn't hate him and did not kill him when they first met in his mindscape was because Naruto never harbored hatred. He felt it, but it simply wouldn't stick with him. Kurami once told him that he was too forgiving, but that wasn't true. He did not forgive. He simply didn't hate. Apparently, him being so pure was one of the reasons. The second was because he was the one. Or at least that's what Kurami said when she thought he couldn't hear her. He had absolutely no idea what that meant. He didn't ask though. If it was important, she would mention it to him. Be patient. They don't have long time to live. He answered. The only response Get got was a mental nod. Looking at the group of thugs, he smiled as they slowly advanced forward. Naruto, who had already moved to stand with the group of ninjas, paled when she saw that smile. She saw Naruto smile a lot during their stay at Ozashiogakuer. She has seen a smile that melted her heart, smile that encouraged her, smile that turned her on, and she loved all of them. But this one haunted her in her nightmares. It was a smile that promised world of pain. It was actually a common thing for her to see that smile. Naruto enjoyed training her too much. Damn sadist. Whenever he gave her that smile during training sessions, it ended with a one-side beating, few broken bones and unconsciousness. What always intrigued her was that whenever she woke up, it was only an hour or two later, and only thing that would prove to her that she was in an actual fight, if it could even be called fight, was her chakra being low. Or rather less than half of its normal capacity. Still enough chakra to match mid-Chunin and probably even come out on top. There were no injuries. When asked about the beating, he would answer that in order for her to learn more, he has to push her to the edge. When she asked him when he started using medical jutsu, Naruto answered that he did not use medical jutsu. The best she got out of him was that it had something to do with his Rinnegan. She was glad that this time she wasn't on the receiving end of that smile. Although she doubted she would get to see his Rinnegan healing ability. Seeing everyone getting ready, she sighed. She did not bother taking the stance. Naruto would wipe the thugs out alone anyway. Stay back, I will deal with them. There is jutsu I have practiced for a long time, but I have yet to use it in real battle. These guys will do just fine for the test, he said before using Sunshine. Appearing behind the group of thugs, he picked Zabuza up and Shunshin back. He placed Zabuza down before taking few steps forward towards the group of thugs. Hey now. There's no reason to be hasty, Naruto-kun, Kushina said, sweat dropping. She was just about to say the exact same thing. She couldn't believe her son beat her to it. Although unlike Naruto, she just wanted to beat them to the ground. I am sure these gentlemen would like to surrender. Eventually. She said, hoping Naruto wouldn't kill them. She did not like the idea of her son killing people. Even if he was ninja. He was still too young for something like that. She rubbed her shoulder as she felt pain there once again. Naruto looked back at Kushina. He narrowed his eyes when he saw her rubbing her shoulder again. If so, then they better do it now, he said loudly enough for thugs to hear. What do you say? Do you surrender, or do I have to kill some of you to show you that you cannot win? He extended his hand and Rasengan formed in his hand. Kushina and Natsumi had wide eyes. Their eyes continued to widen when the Rasengan in his hand started changing. By this point everybody except for Naruto had wide eyes. Loud screeching sound echoed on the bridges, the Rasengan now looking like a rapidly spinning chakra shuriken. Naruto looked at thugs. Do you give up? It was a simple question. However, thugs didn't seem to like it. You damn brat. Once we kill Yoso, should I assume the answer is no? Pity. I do not like killing. It just seems like such a waste, he said calmly. Futon, Rasenshuriken throwing the shuriken at his opponents, he knew they didn't stand a chance. Hell, he knew that even those thugs knew they didn't stand a chance against his jutsu. He assumed that their pride simply didn't allow them to surrender to a single child. Everybody watched as the chakra shuriken started tearing through thugs. Just before it reached the middle of the group, it exploded in huge dome. Kakashi's lone Sharingan as well as Sasuke's eyes widened looking at the dome. After the explosion was over, part of the bridge was gone. Nobody went to look, but they knew that the bodies of their opponents were now in the water below. The amount of attacks, Sasuke whispered, but in the silence it was easily heard by everyone. It's unreal. He breathed out. He couldn't believe that the Dobi can do something like this. Looking at Naruto, he saw that unlike Naruto, he didn't have illusion on himself. Almost as if saying that he didn't need to hide his older self. He could see that Naruto looked older than yesterday. And he knew that everyone could see that now that his face could be seen clearly. Naruto looked at Kushina. Sorry Kushina, but they were scum. I gave them a chance and they didn't take it. Tazuna, sorry for destroying the bridge. I'll help with the repairs, he said in neutral voice. Kushina winced and started rubbing her shoulder to ease the pain that originated there. Her mind really only registered one thing. He called her Kushina. Not Kachan but Kushina. Naruto, seeing her rubbing her shoulder again, narrowed his eyes, but otherwise didn't do anything. He turned to Zabuza, who was laying on the ground beside Haku. He blinked when he realized that it was snowing. It's snowing? At this time of year? Tazuna said. Zabuza was still looked at Haku's peaceful face. If you had a second chance, what would you do? Naruto asked, startling Zabuza. He didn't even realize the blonde had moved to him. He looked at Naruto, noting his serious expression and the tone he used when he asked the question. Zabuza took a second to think before answering. I'd make sure that Haku had better life, he said, closing his eyes. I see, Naruto stated. I suppose it cannot be helped then. Let's go. he said, making Zabuza's eyes go wide as clone popped into existence and picked up Haku while he picked up Zabuza. "Naruto-san, what are you doing?" asked Kakashi, his headband once again covering his eye. He doesn't know that Naruto has henja on her. Naruto just smirked. "I'll be right back," before running away at cage-level speed. "Wait, Naruto-kun," yelled Kushina. "What's going on?" she asked, though he was already gone. Moment later she disappeared as well, running after Naruto. Naruto didn't bother chasing her brother. Rather, she focused on the link between Naruto's Shinpo seal that he marked her with. "Ni-kun, what are you doing?" she asked mentally. "Giving them the second chance," he answered rather cheerfully. She sighed in frustration. He made a big deal about hiding his eyes and powers, yet he went and showed them to total strangers. "You do know that that's two more people that know about your eyes, right?" She heard a deep sigh. "I know. I am actually thinking about using Ninjendo in combination with Shinomi to erase their memories of my eyes." That statement surprised her. Naruto told her that messing with people's memories simply wasn't his cup of coffee, so he didn't think he would be using that ability. He didn't like to mess with somebody else's memories. To hear him say that he would use that ability just like that, it was surprising. "Are you sure about that?" she asked. "I don't know yet. I'll ask Zabuza and Haku after I heal Zabuza and revive Haku. If I feel any negative emotions, then I'll do it." Or... He didn't get to finish because Naruto interrupted him, already knowing what he was about to say. "What is the point of reviving someone if you're just gonna kill that person? It will take some time till the bridge is finished. Since it's our job to protect Tazuna while he's building a bridge, we will be here till he finishes it. That's enough time for me to make a seal that will make sure they're unable to mention it or talk about it. What do you say?" I suppose that would be the best solution," he said sheepishly, completely forgetting about the existence of Fuinjutsu for a moment. "Thanks." Naruto smiled, knowing he didn't want to alter their memories and now he didn't have to. "Oh, by the way, Ni-kun, Ka-chan is following you." She heard a chuckle coming from Naruto. "No, she isn't. The moment I was out of your sight, I shinpoed to one of my markers in Forest of Death." As if on cue, Kushina appeared on the bridge with a pout on her face. "Moo, he got away. I didn't even get the chance to ask why he looks older," she said. Naruto just shook her head in amusement. "Well, don't worry about it, Ka-chan. He said he will be back soon, so I'm sure he will be here soon," she said, hugging her mother. It has been a long time since she has done that, and now that they were out of danger, she didn't waste any time. Kushina didn't know why Naruto just hugged her so suddenly, but she didn't complain as she wrapped her arms around her daughter. Week later, Zabuza and Haku stood in the forest clearing not far from Tazuna's inn. The same one that Konoha ninjas used to train. "Where are they, damn it? They should have been here already," Zabuza exclaimed, obviously irritated. Haku just stood there amused. It wasn't long that Naruto and Naruto appeared in the clearing. "You're late. Where the fuck were you?" Zabuza growled. "I was lazy," Naruto answered with grin, scratching the back of his head guiltily. "You're saying that you were almost 40 minutes late, just because you were lazy?" Zabuza said dangerously. "Yes," Naruto said enthusiastically. "I'm glad you understand," he continued with smile. Haku and Naruto snorted in amusement while Zabuza growled once again. He was about to speak, but Naruto beat him to it. "All right, down to business. You ready for this?" he asked as Naruto pulled out 4 kunais and threw them so that they formed a square with them in the middle of it. Looking closely at the one of the kunais, both Haku and Zabuza noticed that there was some kind of tag with something written on it wrapped around the kunai. Seals, they both thought. Naruto pulled out another kunai. Zabuza and Haku instantly noticed that there was the same sealing tag on it. Naruto clasped the kunai with both her hands and sent chakra into it. "Concealment barrier," she whispered, and immediately they could see red walls forming around them. It was still possible to see outside of the barrier easily enough. The barrier was a simple low-level barrier. Well, as far as concealment barriers were concerned, it was a low-level barrier. Concealment barriers were generally quite the tricky ones, since their general job was to hide things that are right in front of you. This particular one blocked the sound from going outside, and those outside couldn't see what's happening inside. However, even though it was invisible from outside, finding out what's happening inside was as easy as simply walking in. That is, if you knew it was there. The barrier was so simple it was almost never used to hide people, because it didn't conceal chakra. So most shinobi, those that knew Fuinjutsu and those that were good enough with, used it to hide important things or money. Hence concealment barrier. However, normally the seals would have to be placed around the area you wanted to conceal and then activated, causing permanent barrier to erect. But Naruto used kunais to define the size of the concealed area, and then she channeled her chakra into the 5th kunai, which would cause the barrier to erect. It was a lot faster process. However, in return for this mobility and for not having to draw seals on the ground, The barrier only existed for as long as the user channeled chakra into the fifth kunai that he or she was holding. The bigger the area of concealment, the more of chakra is required. But since Naruto was a Uzumaki, that wasn't a big problem. Not to mention Jinchuriki. As soon as the barrier was up, Naruto walked to the mist duo. He pulled out 2 papers and gave one to each. This is the core of the sealing array. Send some chakra into it and it should activate. The 2 did so without hesitation. Normally they would be a lot more cautious. Trapped in a barrier with someone you just met 2 weeks ago and about to have a seal put on them. But they knew that there was no reason to be. Naruto had revived Haku and saved Zabuza from certain death. If he wanted them dead, he wouldn't bother saving them. When they sent chakra into tags, they could see that seals started spreading across their body. Almost entirety of Zabuza's body was covered by sealing array, with only his left leg from knee down not being occupied by the sealing array. Haku on the other hand was smaller, so some of the ink continued spreading on the ground around her. "Well, don't you two look attractive, all cute and covered in ink?" Naruto teased. She pouted when she realized that they completely ignored her. What now, Naruto-sama?" asked Haku. "Well, first you should stop calling me Sama. Or not. I don't really give a fuck about what you call me," he stated. "Second, make sure you don't move. Stay like that. I'll do the rest," he said, pulling out ink and brush out of somewhere. A clone popped into existence behind him holding brush and ink as well. It wordlessly moved to Haku and started drawing seals on the ground where the previous ones ended. Naruto moved to Zabuza and looked at his leg. "Time to work, I guess," he thought before he too started writing seals just where the previous ones stopped. Zabuza looked at Naruto, then he looked at Haku and then at the clone. "Are you finishing this seal?" he asked, curious. "Yeah. I'm surprised you noticed. Do you have knowledge in sealing?" Naruto asked. "No. But why didn't you just finish the seal on that tag and gave it to us afterwards?" he asked, trying to figure out why he didn't just give them the complete seal. "Well, in a way this seal is done and ready to be used, but it wouldn't work the way we want it to. It would automatically restrict you from speaking whatever I want. But I only want to restrict you from speaking of certain things, and I don't want to have control over you. So I have to alter it slightly and tell it to only restrict you to speak of one thing. Once we activate that seal, I will only be able to choose one thing you won't be able to speak about, and that will be the knowledge of my powers," Naruto explained. Zabuza and Haku nodded their heads at his explanation. It sucked that he didn't trust them enough to just tell them to keep it a secret, but it was understandable. In a shinobi world, trusting someone you just met is like asking to be backstabbed. Zabuza knew that all too well. Especially since he is from Kiri. It did not take long for Naruto to finish the seals on both Haku and Zabuza. With its job done, the clone Naruto made puffed out of existence. Naruto came to Zabuza and lifted his hand. Seeing the core of the seal on his palm, he pressed 2 fingers on it and channeled his chakra. Fuinjutsu, restriction. The core started glowing slight yellow color, and the glow slowly spread across all the characters. Fun. The glow intensified as the letters slowly started spiraling towards the core, almost as if they were sucked in. As soon as last letter was sucked in the core, the glow intensified once again, this time shining with a blindingly white color for a few seconds before it died down. Naruto moved his fingers and revealed the seal core, which now looked like a circle with kanji for restrict in it. He looked at Haku and did the same. "I recommend gloves or bandages to hide it, but it doesn't really matter." Naruto added her own touch to these, so it's fine really. Even if someone tried to get rid of it, it wouldn't be easy. In fact, if there is someone who can get rid of those, I'd like to meet them. The barrier around them dropped and Naruto collected her kunais. "So, what are you going to do now?" she asked. Over the week they met couple of times. They weren't her favorite people, but she could hardly say that she didn't like them. "Maybe you could come to our village." I'm sure Tochashi didn't get to finish her sentence, because Zabuza interrupted. "I'm not sure yet, but we're not joining any village. At least not now. We will probably go off scale for now and just train. Maybe become bounty hunters and hunt down some missing nin or something. For now, our main objective is to become stronger. Being tied down to a village would slow us down." "That's quite rude, you know? Interrupting me like that." "Hey now, I merely saved you from wasting breath. You should be thankful for my insight and willingness to help, Gaki." "Yeah right. Anyway, good luck. And don't get yourselves killed again." "Thanks. Let's go, Haku." "You think we will see them again?" Naruto asked, watching the leave. Naruto smirked. "Yeah. I'm pretty sure we will. We should go too. Kushina is probably looking for us." Naruto nodded her head and they both disappeared. Tazuna, Zen, Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, Sai, Kushina, Natsumi, Tazuna, Inari and Tsunami were all sitting at the table eating. Seats where Naruto and Naruto should sit were empty. It just occurred to me. That's one big table. It was 1 week since Gato's death. The fact that his thugs were dead, in coma or in jail only served to brighten the mood in the poor village. Most of them were dead though. Only few of them were in coma or jail. Naruto, the person that saved her and her son from Gato's goons, defeated hundreds of thugs in the matter of seconds. The news spread like wildfire and Naruto-kun is now hailed as hero of Nami no Kuni. Wait. Naruto-kun? Tsunami thought with blush. She shook her head slightly. Apparently Naruto did not like being a hero. Well, from what he told her when she asked, he said that he did not care whether people considered him a bug or a hero. Well, I suppose it's not that he doesn't like it, it's just that he doesn't care. If that wasn't enough, 3 days after Gato's death Naruto found a man that was Gato's right-hand man and the only one he trusted with his money. Naruto used his ninjendo to take the man's memories and kill him. Of course Tsunami didn't know that. What she knew was that Naruto took about 10% of that money, because as he put it, it is a shit ton of money and it could be useful in the future. The remaining 90% now officially belonged to Nami no Kuni. There was more, however. Next thing was that Tsunami was now officially part of royal family. Yep. Even though Tazuna was drunk, he was known and liked throughout the village. He was also one of the few people that stood up to Gato, even going as far as hiring ninjas to help. Since their country was now free of its tyrant, they needed a new leader and Tazuna seemed like a good choice. After Gato's death and Tazuna's election, there was a party in honor of their new leader and the ones that saved them. Kakashi was rather sad to find out that Naruto was women's favorite toy and not him. He could not understand why fate was so cruel. He helped too. That was an amusing sight. Tsunami was knocked out of her musing when she heard someone knocking on the door. Opening the door, she found Naruto and Naruko without Henge, standing there. After they returned back to Tazuna's inn, Naruko explained to Sasuke that she just didn't want Natsumi and Kushina to question her. Sasuke let it go because he knew for a fact that this person was in fact Naruko, but he was still suspicious of her reasons and sudden change. However, at the same time he didn't really care, and as long as his comrades weren't in danger it wasn't his place to meddle in Naruko's affairs. Yo Tsunami-chan. Sorry we're late for lunch. Naruto grinned. Tsunami's cheeks a slight red tint and she could swear she saw Naruko smirk for a second. Hello Naruto-kun, Naruko-san. You should come in, she said. This time Naruko couldn't help herself. Naruto-kun? Tsunami-chan? Damn, you work fast Nee-kun. And a hot mama too. She started laughing when Tsunami's face became red. Oh, don't be embarrassed, you two would be really cute together, she said. She came close to Tsunami and whispered something that Naruto couldn't hear. I'm seriously rooting for you. Tsunami's face exploded in a completely new shade of red and Naruko started laughing again. But you don't know about his circumstances, do you? Naruko asked seriously, referring to the fact that Naruto had a harem. She was going to say more but she felt hand on her shirt pulling her back. Naruto placed his hand on top of her head and ruffled her hair. You should think before teasing a person that lets you live with them for free, Naruto said cheerfully, causing Naruko to pout. Naru-chan, Naruto, can I talk to you? Natsumi said with Kushina standing behind her. It's important, she said. Naruto looked at Kushina. Don't look at me. I'm in the same boat as you. I have no idea what is so important, Kushina said, seeing the questioning look. Interesting. Well then what are we waiting for? He said, before he turned to Tsunami. Go men Tsunami-chan, my sister is quite the mischievous one. She likes to make other people uncomfortable, he said, grinning. He barely finished talking when Naruko, following after Kushina and Natsumi, started dragging him up the stairs. Talk later Tsunami-san, she exclaimed cheerfully, before disappearing behind corner along with Naruto. Tsunami, who still had a cute little blush on her face, just stood there, wondering what just happened. Was it really that obvious that she had a crush on Naruto-kun? Or was it just that foxy little devil that noticed? Also, what did she mean when she said circumstances? Even going as far as saying that she is rooting for me. It's not like it will happen. Naruto-kun is too young for me, I have a son and he doesn't live here, not to mention that he is a ninja, so he is probably too busy to even have time for such things. Maybe that's what she meant when she said circumstances? She thought, slightly sadder than before. Naruko-san is very mean though, she pouted cutely. She didn't even give me a chance to speak. She walked away. Break. As soon as door closed, Natsumi put a sealing tag with kanji for privacy on them. It was a simple privacy seal commonly sold in ninja shops, but this one was made by Kushina so it was slightly better. Just like you would expect of privacy seal, it prevents the sound from escaping the room. Kushina's little twist added an invisible barrier that was slightly bigger the affected area. The only thing barrier did was informing the one who activated the seal if someone entered it. It was the most basic form of barriers. Seeing that the privacy seal is activated, Natsumi turned around looking at Naruto and Naruto. Then she looked at Kushina. Sigh. I don't even know where to begin, she said, sitting down opposite the three. Well, how about you tell us why we're here? Asked Naruto. Natsumi looked at Kushina before she answered. Because of you. Because of me? Asked Kushina, blinking in surprise. Did I do something? No. But there is something you need to know. All of you. I've been thinking over it this whole time. Wondering if I should even tell you, but I think it's for the best, she said. She then looked at Naruto. Naruto. I'm not naive enough to believe that you have shown us all you can do. You probably still have a few tricks up your sleeve. Normally I wouldn't pry, but I have to ask. Is Fuinjutsu one of them? This piqued everyone's interest. Kushina was curious about both the answer and the reason for Natsumi's interest. Naruto and Naruto looked at each other. They were planning on telling Natsumi about Uzushiogakure after her return to Konoha, but this was as good of a chance as any. Naruto did not plan on telling Kushina, but she was an Uzumaki. She had as much right to know as Natsumi did. We were planning on telling you when we returned to Konoha. And we didn't want to tell Kushina. He ignored Naruto's exclamation of "I wanted to." And continued, I still have my doubts. But Kushina is an Uzumaki, so she has the right to know. Seeing he had their attention, he continued, do you remember when Tsunami-chan's sun exploded during dinner and it led to me storming out in anger? He looked at Natsumi, who nodded. Then he noticed that she frowned when she looked at Kushina. He also noticed that Kushina flinched in pain and rubbed her shoulder again, but she nodded nonetheless. Actually Naruto-kun, I wanted to talk to you about that, she said. Naruto just his hand at her in dismissive manner. Later. Let us not change the subject now, he said. Anyway. Naruto interrupted. He wasn't angry at all. He was just looking for the right opportunity to ditch us, since he wanted to visit a certain place and he knew it would take at least a day to get what he wanted from there. And that place is Uzushiogakure, home to all Uzumaki. She explained, grinning. Seeing that they were about to ask questions, Naruto quickly continued, I was looking for few things there, but the primary reason for my visit was the Uzumaki time house. House covered in seals. And with an underground training ground, he said. Basically, 1 year spent inside is equal to 1 day outside. But Nikun's plan didn't really go the way he wanted since I followed him. Well, long story short, we spent 1 year in the time house training. That's why we look different. You asked if Naruto knows Fuinjutsu Natsumi-chan. The answer is yes. In fact, he is level 10 seal master on Uzumaki scale, but I am still better. Naruto said, grinning. In fact, she is a lot better than me. And when I say a lot, I mean fucking huge different arg. What the? Naruto said, looking at Kushina in puzzlement. Language, young man, Kushina said, with her hair splitting into 9 tails behind her, an evil look on her face that said, do as I say or discover hell. Naruto's sweat dropped. I am trying to paint the image. Do you blame me for using colorful words? Besides, it's just a word, you shouldn't make a big deal out of it, he stated, not at all intimidated by the aura of death around her. If anyone else was subjected to this much killing intent, they would probably see the vision of themselves dying. Anyway, if you need help with seals or something, I can help you, but what does one of us knowing Fuinjutsu has to do with Kachan? Not to mention the fact that Kachan knows Fuinjutsu as well. I'm pretty sure that she knows enough to understand and decipher any non-Uzumaki seal, Naruto said, confused. It took a little while for Natsumi to answer since she was still processing what she had just been told. She still didn't understand what about that supposed to be an important secret. Except maybe the time house thing. She took a deep breath before she started talking. Kachan. I suppose there is no better way to say this. She looked at Kushina and smiled sadly before chains erupted from her back and quickly bound Kushina. Everyone was shocked at the development, but none more so than Kushina herself. Natsumi. What are you doing? Shocked, confused and angry. Appropriate reaction. Gomen Kachan, but there is a seal on you and I don't know just how much it's influencing you. So for now just bear with it, okay? The sad smile from before still on her face. Kushina was so shocked at those words it never even occurred to her to use her own chakra chains, which were much stronger than Natsumi's, to break Natsumi's hold on her. A seal? Asked Naruto. What kind of seal? What's going on, Natsumi-chan? She asked. Looking between Natsumi and Kushina, who was just staring at Natsumi in disbelief. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he looked at Kushina and then he spoke. A single question. 3 words that made both Kushina's and Natsumi's head turn to him at speeds he would have thought impossible if he didn't see it with his own eyes. Her left shoulder. Silence. Naruto was looking at her brother intensely. Natsumi and Kushina as well. Suddenly Kushina was reminded of her shoulder pains that just seemed to occur randomly. She thought it was weird. They came out of nowhere and left as quickly as they came. Well, usually they did. The breakfast incident with Inari and Naruto was first time the pain in her shoulder was so intense. She grit her teeth as she could feel pain in her left shoulder again. Is it true? Is it a seal? She thought as the pain intensified. It was stronger than usually but still nowhere near as painful as during the breakfast, which only led to more questions. Why was it so much more painful back then? It was only when Natsumi spoke that Kushina was knocked out of her musing, her head down and her eyes hidden by her hair. You knew about it? She asked Naruto angrily. Not really. I had my suspicions but I didn't know it was a seal. I noticed a little bit over a week ago. I think, he said holding his hands up. You think? Natsumi asked. Well, for us it happened over a year ago, you know. Naruto tried to calm her sister down. For us? Did you know about it? Asked Natsumi looking at her sister. Nope. First time I'm hearing about it right now. She smiled at Natsumi. A reassuring smile. Week ago? It started about a month ago. At first it was just small irritating sensation, but now it hurts. And lately it has been happening more often. Kushina spoke, joining their conversation. I see. But Natsumi-chan still didn't answer my question. What seal? It's a loyalty seal. That's why I bound her. I don't know anything, just that it's a loyalty seal and that someone is at the very least trying to control Ka-chan. She answered sadly. Kushina looked at her daughter with smile. Smart. Better to play it safe. She thought proudly, even though small part of her thought it kinda sucked that her own daughter didn't trust her enough, but the other part was proud that her daughter was a good kunoichi that didn't let her own emotions endanger her in situations like this. Looking at Naruto, she noticed that she was shaking and her eyes were shadowed by her hair. She knew it wasn't because she was about to cry or something like that. She was angry. Kushina knew that. She just didn't know why. Well, except for the obvious someone is controlling my mother thing. But Kushina thought there was something more to it. Looking at Naruto, she noticed that he was just observing with his usual nonchalance and aura of let's just get this over with already. It's boring and I am not interested. Even with all the pain she felt, Kushina couldn't help but sweat drop at his attitude. Now that he figured out what the thing on her shoulder was, he suddenly lost all interest in this topic. The only she seen him really serious about something was fighting. Looking back at Naruto, who was still shaking, Kushina decided to speak. Naruto-chan, sweetie, you have to calm down. Kushina mentally congratulated herself for not letting her voice waver. The seal is placed on my shoulder, so even if I analyzed it and figured out a way of getting rid of it, I would still need somebody to help me draw the counter seal, since the loyalty seal must be in the center of my counter seal and I can't write on my own back. So come here and break that goddamn thing on my shoulder, she said. The last part was spoken harshly through her gritted teeth since pain intensified again. She could actually use a tag for the counter seal, but she only preferred to use those for simple and small things. She also didn't like to use sealing tags unless it was for something she would probably encounter in future again. That's what those tags were for after all. You prepare a seal and use them when needed. That's why she mostly used those tags only for barriers, exploding seals or things like that. No need for that. Naruto spoke. I'll deal with the seal, he said as he stood up and took a step forward. Before he could take any more steps, someone caught his hand, stopping him. Looking at the owner of the hand, it was Naruto. No. If you do that, the best you will get is how chakra of the one who put it on her feels. I want to know more. I want to know what exactly that seal does to her. How long does she have it? Anything. Someone is trying to take control of the Uzumaki clan. And through seals no less. Just the mere thought is ridiculous and it angers me. Whoever the person is, he or she will pay, she declared, anger in her eyes evident. Naruto sighed an answer. Whatever. I suppose we just wait now, he said, plopping down on the bed, closing his eyes. Call if you need anything. How long do you think it will take? He heard Natsumi's voice and he felt her sitting down next to him. Don't know really. Depending on the seal. It could be minutes, hours, days or maybe weeks. But I doubt it will take more than 20 minutes unless it's some kind of advanced Uzumaki seal. Naruto Uemoto is just that good with seals, he said. They continued to chat for about different things. Really just small talk and such. It wasn't long before Naruto called them. Standing up and opening his eyes, Naruto was quite surprised to see Kushina, who now panting and sweating from pain. Yep, Kushina definitely saw better days. The pain was so bad she didn't even notice she wasn't bound by chains anymore until a minute ago. Natsumi had let her chains disperse few minutes after Naruto started working. Apparently the chains got in the way. Get rid of it, Ni-kun. It's clean and it's not needed anymore. I gathered as much info as I could. she said evenly. She obviously wasn't happy. And? He asked. Get rid of it first. The longer she has it the more pain she will feel, Naruto said, shaking her head. At this point she could easily draw an array that would break the seal once activated, but it would be pointless waste of time since Naruto could the same win his Rinnegan in an instant while she would take another few minutes to write the array. Not to mention that he would get the bonus of absorbing chakra of the one activated the seal. That way if he ever came in contact with the same chakra he will know that is the person who placed the seal on Kushina. Naruto nodded. He activated his Rinnegan and placed his hand on the seal. Gakido, he said, activating his Pretapath and absorbing the chakra that was sustaining the seal. The moment he did so Kushina felt weird sensation. The pain was lessening yet she still felt as if she was losing consciousness. Memories flowed through her head. Natsumi pointing out the fact that Naruto referred to her as Kushina and not Ka-chan or Ka-san. Her mind went through all the memories she had with Naruto. She did not abandon him. She would never abandon her own child. There was no way that would happen. Just few days back she would say that she was doing her job as a mother and that she was good at it. Everything felt fine. She didn't favor or neglect her children. So why was it that when she tried recollecting her times with Naruto, she felt sense of dread? Why was it that she felt overwhelming sadness? Why was it that her heart hurt so much? Why was it that she couldn't remember spending time with him yet she clearly remembered spending time with her daughters because she felt like she already spent too much time with Naruto and she didn't want them to think that she was forgetting about them. How is it possible that I have not noticed? She thought frantically. Is it because of the seal? The memories kept assaulting her, and no matter how much of them flew through her head, there was not a single good one with Naruto since he could speak. Even before the memories she had of him were necessities rather than just spending time with him. Most of the memories she had with Naruto were negative and bad. And then suddenly she was back in room with her children gasping in surprise and breathing heavily. Kushina-sama. Kushina froze in surprise hearing a feminine voice in her head. It was very respectful and an underlying tone of happiness could be heard as it spoke. It has been over a decade since you could last hear my voice. I apologize for not being able to help. Kushina's hand moved to her left hip. Finding nothing but cloth there she looked down in confusion before she realized. Ah, right, you're in the seal right now. I remember now. Over a decade. Even when Naruto-kun was just a baby I still preferred to spend time with Naruko-chan and Natsumi-chan. And I never noticed until now that the seal is released. Does that mean it was placed on me after their birth? It's plausible. After Juubi was sealed I was out for days. When I woke up I was in hospital so anybody could sneak in. It could be then. It was also around that time when I stopped being able to hear you. She was brought out her trance when Natsumi spoke to her, unaware of her mother's inner conversation. Ka-chan, are you alright? She asked worried. Yeah, I'm fine. In fact I feel great, she said as she turned around and smiled at her children. When her eyes met Naruto's she instantly bowed down, her forehead touching the ground. Naruto-kun, I don't even know what to say. I'm sorry. I never meant to neg. She never got to finish because Naruto interrupted her. What are you doing? He asked with about the same uncaring voice, although this time it was laced with bit of curiosity. She looked at him weirdly. I am apologizing for years of neglect and pain I've caused you. I am apologizing for being a bad parent, and also if you would let me finish then you would know that I was just about to beg for your forgiveness and for a second chance. She shifted nervously waiting for him to say something. And then Naruto chuckled. Cute, he said in amusement. I cannot forgive you because there's nothing for me to be forgiving about. I never held a grudge in the first place. So how about you stop bowing and Naruto will explain exactly what the seal does. For example, the chakra I've absorbed. They were two completely different chakra signatures. One was way different than any chakra I've felt. It felt almost as dense and powerful as Baiju's chakra, but it was definitely human. The other one. It was familiar. I was definitely in contact with this one before. I just don't know who it belongs to. That drew gasps from everyone. Two people. And one of them was someone Naruto met before. And the other person's chakra was similar to Baiju's? That's insane. Both of them were. So you're saying there are two people in this? Asked Natsumi. Well, at least two. And like I said, I know one of them. I'm sure I was in contact with that chakra before. Naruto answered before he looked at Naruto. She took deep breath before she started talking. Ka-chan. The seal was a modified loyalty seal. Unlike normal loyalty seal, this one could only give you one suggestion or order. While it sacrificed the ability to freely change orders anytime, the one order that it gives is nearly absolute. It's basically impossible to not follow the order with just sheer willpower. Seeing that she had their attention, she continued, It's been on you for years. And it's been reinforced every now and then. Last time it was reinforced was about a year ago. That's why the seal has been weakening. And that's why the pain came in. The more pain you felt, the closer you were to breaking through the seal with your willpower only. And that's also why you passed out during that breakfast. Tell me, what were you thinking before you passed out? Kushina answered immediately. I thought that it could never happen. I wouldn't let my children down like that. She answered. Naruto smiled. And that's why the pain becomes so intense that you passed out. Your thoughts were direct opposite of what the seal ordered you. But since it was weakened, it couldn't do what it was supposed to do. The pain is a sign that the seal is trying to make you do something differently, but it's failing. She explained. So, the reason I passed out was because I was resisting the seal. But Naruto-chan, Kushina said warily. I just told you that what I thought was that I wouldn't abandon my children. And then you said that I was going directly against the orders. It can't be true, can it? She thought. Why would someone want that? What could they possibly gain? Does that mean that the order was to neglect my children? Naruto smiled sadly. Not exactly. She looked at Naruto. Only Nikun. The order was that only Nikun will be neglected. Or rather, I should say that it told you that you were spending too much time with Nikun and that you should spend more time with the rest of your family that you were neglecting. Naruto stood up and went to Kushina. He grinned at her and ruffled her hair. See? It wasn't your fault. No need to feel bad. It was almost as if he was speaking to a child. It made the remaining 3 occupants of the room face fault. He then sat down and continued. My question is why? Even though it was placed on Kushina, it seems as if I'm the target. But back then I was just a baby. So what could they want from me? Naruto looked hesitant to speak but did so anyway. Maybe it was because of your... Her gaze flickered to Kushina before she looked back at Naruto. Eyes? Naruto finished her sentence. Kushina was about to speak and ask what do they mean by eyes, but before she could speak Naruto continued. I've thought about it, but I don't think so. It's true that when Q-chan... He expected to hear a growl in his mind but he didn't. She was probably asleep. She did that a lot, was sealed into me she could break out. But she didn't because she had suspicions. Even so, she didn't know for sure and she didn't even have a slightest clue about it until she was sealed into me. So how would this person know about it? How could this person know that I would eventually awaken those eyes? What eyes? Kushina asked impatiently. She was tired and she needed rest. That seal took a lot out of her. Tired Kushina equals to irritated Kushina. Well, let's just say I have a dojutsu. I'm trusting you to keep it a secret. You can't tell anybody about it, he said grinning. You. That was Naruto's voice. Her eyebrows were twitching violently as she stared at him with disbelieving eyes. If you wanted to keep it a secret, stop talking about it, dumbass. Honestly, I don't understand how you managed to keep it a secret for this long. Grinning, Naruto answered. I only say or reveal it to people I trust. That's why it's still a secret. I remember you saying that you don't trust her not too long ago. Naruto answered. Natsumi and Kushina were watching with comical expression on their faces. Well, yeah, but she was sealed back then. Besides, I already understand her and I trust her. He put emphasis on the word understand and he wrapped his hand around Kushina's shoulders, still grinning. Naruto understood what he meant by that. Ninchu. Even though he still didn't know much of it, he could pretty much make one-sided connection. It was either him understanding the person he was touching or that person would understand him. He couldn't do both at once. At least not yet. And the connection only lasted for as long as he was touching the said person. Natsumi and Kushina were a little skeptical, however they didn't say anything. Natsumi because she knew her brother was full of surprises and Kushina didn't really care as long as she got second shot with her son. So what about your eyes? Asked Kushina. I told you already. I have a dojutsu. He answered. I already figured that out when you mentioned your eyes. I'm not stupid, you know? She pouted. Ha. Well, you see, it's like this, he said as his eyes transformed into shinomi. I have eyes that are superior to both Sharingan and Rinnegan put together, he said as he started the lengthy explanation which author will skip cause you've already seen it and this chapter is already freakishly long. That's. Yeah, I know I'm awesome. Don't worry about praising me, silent admiration is just fine, Naruto said, interrupting Kushina, getting a snort of amusement from the 3 occupants of the room which in turn caused him to grin. So. You think it's because of your eyes? Kushina asked, getting back to the serious topic. It could be. Rikudo-Sennin is rumored to have possessed Rinnegan and there are quite a few stories about his godlike powers. If there was dojutsu superior to Rinnegan, everybody would try to get their hands on it, right? Asked Natsumi. Except. How would they know? Said Naruto. It doesn't help that we don't really have that much to go on yet. The only thing we know is that someone we know is involved along with at least one other person whose chakra seems extremely powerful. Naruto added. You're right. We don't. So let's just enjoy ourselves and we will deal with it once we get back to Konoha, Naruto said cheerfully, causing the three women to stare at him. It's like he doesn't realize how bad the situation is, Kushina said with odd voice. I know, right? Natsumi said. Oh, he realizes that, all right. He's just weird that way, Naruto sighed. But you're right, Kushina said. Once we get home we will deal with this. We will explain things to Minato-kun and we will find the one responsible. Next thing Naruto spoke filled the three redheads with feeling of dread. No, we won't explain things to Minato. I don't trust the guy. You can't be serious, Ni-kun, exclaimed Naruto. Naruto-kun, I know we weren't the best parents but... Kushina started but didn't get to finish because Naruto started talking. Look. The way I see it, there are only two possibilities. You see, just like you, he ignored me, and I think that there can only be two reasons. First, just like you, he also has a seal on him. If this is true, then it's the same as what Natsumi did to you when she bound you. Merely being cautious. Second, he is the one that put the seal on you. It actually just occurred to me, but he seems like a perfect fit. We all know him. He has access. He knows Fuinjutsu. And even though I haven't felt his chakra in years, I can always find out when we come back. All he received were stares. It couldn't be true, could it? The argument Naruto put forth were solid, but it couldn't be true, right? Whoever put it on me didn't need any special access. Giving birth to not one, not two but three children is extremely exhausting, you know. Not to mention having Kyuubi extracted from me on top of that. I was out for days back then. And when I woke up I was in the hospital. Anybody could have just come in and do it. If they were already prepared and had the sealing tag ready, it would take just a few seconds, Kushina argued. True, but what about reinforcing the seal? Naruto asked. I don't know. But I don't believe Minato-kun would do something like this. He never cared for power. He always saw power as means to an end and nothing more. I wouldn't know about his way of thinking, but still. People change. Can you be sure he still feels the same? He's my husband, Naruto-kun. I believe I would notice if you changed to power-hungry psychopath. Kushina deadpanned. Maybe. But then again. Deception is great weapon, he said casually. Oh well, we're going in circles again. We will find out when the time is right. If I'm wrong, that's good, but if you're wrong we need to play it safely, he stated, and much as Kushina hated to admit it, he was right. Fine. You're right. Just in case, we should play it safe. Kushina reluctantly agreed. Ni-kun. You actually think To-chan would do something like this? Asked a frowning Naruto. Me? Nah, not really. I'm just saying that he is a perfect suspect. He answered, grinning. I agree with Naruto, said Natsumi, who was strangely quiet the whole time. I don't want to believe it, and in fact I don't believe it. But just because you don't believe in something, it doesn't mean it's not there, right? Break. Another 4 days passed and the bridge was now finished. Even though Naruto destroyed huge part of the bridge, he helped out. Using shadow clones sped up the prices greatly, and now Team 7 and 11 were standing on the bridge saying their goodbyes. Tazuna-san, Tsunami-san, thank you for your hospitality, Kushina said. Everyone proceeded to say what they wanted and the group of ninja decided to head out. Just before Naruto turned around though, Tsunami yanked him towards her by his hand and kissed his cheek. Be sure to visit Naruto-kun, she said with cute blush. Definitely. In fact, I kind of have a feeling that I'll return sooner than anticipated. He answered. Oof. Tsunami-chan finally shows her true colors, Naruto said, giggling. Naruto-san. So mean. She pouted. Naruto was the one that put her up to this. Naruto explained about Naruto's situation, and at first Tsunami was very disappointed, but Naruto told her to at least give him a chance. She was still disappointed that he couldn't be only hers, but she accepted that and decided that it was worth a try. Now she had a feeling that Naruto mostly encouraged her so that she could tease her later on. Over the last 4 days Naruto spent a lot of time with Tsunami and they became quite close. In fact, Tsunami wouldn't mind calling Naruto a friend. One thing Tsunami hated about Naruto were her teasing habits. For some reason her pure and innocent self would often end up a victim of a devil's teasing habits. Naruto was mean in that way. Whatever, let's go already, Sasuke said. Everybody seemed to ignore the kya. So cool. Sasuke-kun! Exclamation. Naruto and Tsunami noticed that the group of ninja were looking at them. Tsunami blushed since she was sure that everybody was walking away and not looking just few seconds ago. Naruto-kun. Can't you even say goodbye properly to your girlfriend? Although I never knew you were into older women, Kushina said, smirking. Tsunami groaned. This is why that foxy devil enjoys teasing me. She thought, blushing at the girlfriend part. "You should probably go," she said shyly, finding the ground very interesting right now. She was surprised when Naruto placed a hand on her chin and lifted her head up. He smiled and kissed her forehead. "See you soon, Tsunami-chan," he said and walked away. "Oof. You're blushing," said Naruto, causing Tsunami to cross her hands under her breasts. "Go away, bad spirit," she said with pout. Naruto laughed and started walking away. "See you later, Ne-chan," Naruto said, still chuckling in amusement. "Yeah. See you later," Tsunami said to herself. She turned around and froze, seeing grinning Tazuna and confused Inari. "Crap. I forgot they were here." And so once Tsunami arrived home, she was bombarded with questions from her son and was also a subject to her father's teasing. And just when she thought the teasing would end with Naruto leaving. That's the end, guys. If you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a comment. This is Chaos Shinobi signing off.